Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto trained seriously alone part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. She was a pretty little thing, but then again, what little girl wasn't pretty? It was often thought that she wouldn't make it either, too sweet and polite along with how little progress she showed. Almost like the perfect noble's daughter. Except no noble's daughter was so charming or well-mannered at the age of 7. The only reason why she was still around was because of her age, temper, and all-around averageness. The Chunin instructors didn't really see her fit to be a kunoichi, but the problem was finding a grounding reason to kick her out. But that was fine, she'll probably get stuck into the Genin Corps or dropped altogether, before she steps into a real battle. Which one is she? Point her out. Right there, the one with the short blue hair by the tree, Hokage-sama. Despite her averageness as they described her, that in itself should have alerted something was wrong. The pretty little thing wasn't suspicious, she was, but all children were the same in one way, and that was to seek out companionship. They all huddled into their little groups, little social cliques that can be much crueler than the adult counterparts, and those that don't fit into any of them were isolated and bitter. Misfits that lashed out, making enemies for human contact. Tell me, does she want to be a ninja? Because she was isolated by her choice, and there was no bitter resentment or anger. No real reason he can see, read, or speculate for her to be alone and still smile carelessly like she is. There wasn't a targeted group of little kids that she avoided or some tangible/invisible force that was keeping her apart. We're not sure, nobody really talks to her, and she doesn't really talk either. An orphan little child was usually scared to be alone, especially ones that were orphaned at an age where they couldn't string together coherent thoughts. Has any instructor actually tried to talk to her? Well, no. Tobirama glared at the Chunin. Isn't it the instructor's job to ensure their students' future and health? Because his brother would have harassed him if he didn't do this much for the little girl. Even if she was creepy as fuck to him. But her creepy averageness can only speak volumes in what she's hiding. It was a routine that I followed. Not really, but nonetheless, I followed whatever route I made in the name of stability. Play a song for me? I got into an easy stance, the one that I remembered from long ago. My body flowed step by step and arms moved accordingly by the script it remembered. The slow-moving dance that made me sway to the imaginary music. Play the one that makes the birds sing. The smile never left my face, but that memory always welled happiness. I hummed along the soundless tune and wondered what else would spring up today. I like to think that if I face that wave head-on, then it'll be like a winter breeze. I can only make this as pleasant as I can make it, or it'll be a storm that'll hit me. Haruka-chan? So I breathed to face reality with a smile. Can I help you, sensei? It was no surprise to see my sensei uncomfortable. Confrontation with me always made people uncomfortable for some reason. It didn't bother me, I was fine being left alone. I preferred it, in fact. Play that song again. Well, I just wanted to know what you wanted to do as a ninja. Sensei easily said. Do you have a particular area you wanted to excel on? I looked up at the sky, humming in thought. I stalled on purpose. I wasn't stupid, I knew what he thought of me. It's like a song, they only hear how nice it sounds at first. Maybe taijutsu? I said wistfully. It's been a while since I've sparred with anybody. Sensei looked at me with an indulging, strange smile. The sight of a little girl didn't fit his criteria of a heavy hitter, but nodded anyways. I'm sure if you trained enough, you'll find a style for yourself. Let them draw their own hasty conclusions, because once they start paying attention, it's their own loss. Watching my sensei walk away wasn't new, in this life or the other. I was used to the sight of people leaving me because I was weak. Don't worry, I'll come back. But I knew that despite the happiness they all tried to keep, they couldn't hide the fact that we were losing. They were strong, but their numbers were small, painfully small against what we were fighting against. I didn't know if it was a good or bad thing that I died before knowing the conclusion of that war. I didn't want to know who. My foot stomped forward back into stance, my fingers gripped before they loosened, and I took another breath. Eyes always forward and never waver in your stance. If they come, at least you'll know how to snap their necks. You can be strong, you are strong. I'll stay strong, I told myself. This is nothing. And like before, I'll keep smiling. Not for others this time, but for myself. The great inevitable prevented me from doing that before. My body was weak and I had too little people, to stay strong for. But now I can be strong and stronger. Even if I didn't know what to be strong for yet, I can at least be strong for myself and for everybody that I remembered. I'm right here, Dash. And yeah, it's just like sleeping. These memories static in and out, but even if I couldn't remember them fully or name the people at the top of my head, I still remembered. What was important anyways? Even if you forget, your body won't. And the invisible enemies prove that somewhere in my mind that I can still punch, kick, and move. Sloppy, but that's what practice is for. Haruka was someone I can be, what I dreamed to be, even if my only companions were people that I barely remembered. These lessons stuck to me like a leech, and I'll capitalize on that. With every move and breath, I was gaining an advantage over these shinobi. In a world that doesn't have this fancy power, I can only be ahead if I added it. Another smile replaced the last at the next thought. I wondered how long these shinobi can stay powerless, without chakra to use for every little thing or convenience. Every advantage you find can be only good for you. And I was far too acquainted in being powerless. Small graceful steps and a smile to match, I easily weaved through the crowd setting off back to the academy. I had no qualms in the fact that everybody looked at me oddly. I'd rather be weird than boring. The phasing memories were spoiling me with pranks, laughter, and creative ideas of the powerless. For a world with fancy powers, it was rather dull. But I didn't mind. I knew how to entertain myself, and it's been fun seeing they've just introduced how to call this basic power up for the civilians anyways. But that didn't deter me from seeing just how chakra works myself. And failing. It's not like I expect it to be easy anyways, but I would like to walk on water and run on the rooftops as fast as possible. It looked fun, and I could just imagine what I could just do with just chakra control alone, let alone the fancy jutsus that everyone wants to learn. But that's what the academy is for. Like any other school, they'll teach you the bare minimum and expect the kids to find the motivation to read a book to further the subject. I had plenty of motivation and a library to not really raid. You can't raid a library with a stingy librarian in the way. It's hard for someone like me to not gather information as fast as I can. It was one of the few things I was good at. Just remember, any blackmail is good blackmail. It gives you varying degrees and options depending on the seriousness of the situation. If you can bypass these firewalls, then I'm afraid I'll be out of the job here. I still have my pride. Waking up and being able to do things without restraint, even if this world is dangerous, physical activity was my best friend. The thought to be able to exercise missions was exciting, and this world had nothing against progressive minds of creative human beings. The traditional, conservative ways made me want to laugh when the instructors tried to scare me away. This is a gun, a really nice gun. You can show it off to the others at the range. Have I told you about the one guy that I stepped on? Sometimes I really wish you didn't know what I did, that I could shelter you from it all. But all the rest of me is glad that you do know. These fond memories, of all of them stained and chipped from their jobs and the necessary evils to make the free go round, I wanted that. Now I can have exactly that without any of them, that lifestyle militarized and sanctioned under an oligarchy or dictatorship of some sort. What irony. Haruka-san? An annoyed voice sounded beside me. Would you be willing to indulge a conversation with me? He was pale with pretty purple markings on his face with nice black, silky hair to match. I beamed a smile at him, in amusement, because I never been asked for a conversation like that. Especially not from a little boy who was a little older than her, probably a year or two older. Of course, may I know your name? Orochimaru. It was stupid. Why he indulged Jiraiya in this stupid dare was beyond him, but the white-haired oaf was being ridiculous and unreasonable. The too happy blue-haired girl may be annoying with that smile that she sent him, but she's far from the plague that everyone that makes her out to be. Everyone called her creepy to a degree. Orochimaru even notices that the instructors were a little nervous to talk to her, and he has to admit that the shining, bright blue eyes that matched her hair made him uncomfortable as well. Not that it'll stop him from proving the dead last wrong. The weather's nice for today, but I suggest bringing an umbrella tomorrow. It might rain, maybe later in the day too. This feeling of being thrown off by the conversation didn't stop his curiosities. Oh? How do you know? I can smell it coming. Irritation built within the pale boy. That familiar line he usually hears from that Hataki kid made him want to glare. He did, before continuing. And what exactly do you smell before the rain? Orochimaru gritted out. Thoroughly unfazed, Haruka just hummed in thought. Well, you know how raindrops form in the sky, right? She watched the boy nod. Well, I like to think the air gets heavier with the water vapors, and anything like smoke and dust that we usually smell falls to the ground from the extra weight. It's like smelling the mud and grass after it rains, only it's before it. He gave an intrigued, slow nod. Yes, I suppose that's true. It is then Orochimaru takes a good look at her. From the old hand-me-down shirt and pants to the ratty umbrella that looked too flimsy for any breeze in her hands, he realized that this orphan girl can carry a far more smarter conversation than the ignorant mutt or the stupid dead lass that seemed to gravitate to him. Any conversation with other children was easily brushed off, and any adult was too stupid to actually take him seriously. His restless mind latched on to the thought that this smiling little girl that was twirling the umbrella in her hands in a carefree manner may be on the same intelligence level as he was, or close to it, seeing he was still better, and maybe keep up with his own thoughts. The coiling hold at the thought of a challenge made him more than willing to ignore her annoying smile if it meant intelligent conversations in the near future. Ah, sorry, Orochimaru-san, it's almost time for class. The girl interrupted his thoughts. It was nice talking to you, stay warm. The cheerful goodbye was foreign, but he ignored it in favor of walking to his own class while noting that she was 2 classes below him. That was unacceptable. He'll make her study and train harder if she's really as smart as she seems to be. There was no way he would someone like her be stuck with a bunch of brainless children that were dumber than the ones in his class. So how'd it go? Orochimaru turned irritably towards Jiraiya before settling for a smirk. Haruka-san is a much more better conversationalist than you'd ever be. Jiraiya's face reddened before puffing up. Of course, a bastard like you would find a creepy girl like her interesting. Orochimaru scoffed. She's not creepy, weird and a little airheaded, but far from creepy. Smarter than you, definitely. If you can talk to her, then maybe I will too. Please don't, I don't need you to infect her with your stupid. Oh? It'd be tat you have a crush on that creepy girl? Orochimaru scowled. No, you're an even bigger idiot for thinking that. This wasn't unusual. Their bickering was part of the normal routine of this class, and it held no particular attention from anyone outside of the angry blonde that was approaching. They both didn't pay attention until the said blonde knocked their heads together. What the hell are you both arguing about now? Suheim, Orochi team has a crush. Don't push your libido on me. Just because she's a female doesn't mean anything between us. If anything, one would think you were too shy to meet with her in the first place. Scouting her out, as you would crudely say. Orochimaru sneered. The white-haired boy squawked and sputtered denials and gave another angry retort. Tsunade pinched the bridge of her nose before cracking her knuckles in a warning. That sound silenced them swiftly. Who are you talking about? Tsunade pressed her hands to her hips. If she's got both of your attentions, then it's only natural that I have to judge her myself, especially if both of you like her. She smirked. Though, the thought of Orochimaru liking someone made her want to pout. He was hers first, their parents introduced each other, and she won't lie that she had a little crush on him. A crush that soon fell away because of his brisk attitude. He's too stiff, and she couldn't even understand half the things he talks about. But he was still her best friend. And Jiraiya was reluctantly hers too. He was annoying and loud, but he grew on her, like having that one annoying cousin that was too smart but uses his smarts for all the wrong reasons. To hear another girl that caught their attention was kind of alarming, so to say. Tsunade's not about to share what's hers with another girl. We're talking about creepy Haruka, you know, that one girl that's always alone and hums weird songs and have that creepy feeling when she turns her smile to you? Jiraiya whispered. A lot of us think she's a doll brought back to life, like those creepy porcelain dolls. You're an idiot, Orochimaru deadpanned. I'm serious. Jiraiya flailed. Who here in Konoha has bright blue hair like that? And matching eyes to boot? The reason why she can't stop smiling is because she was made that way, and that glassy look in her eyes are like that because they're made of glass. He leaned in further with a conspirator look. And they said that she's looking for her owner in the academy because she knows that they're here. You're an idiot. Tsunade stared. But Tsunade had to admit when she saw Haruka from afar, there was something off about her. The girl was perfectly normal, nothing out of place, and yet there was this air around her that even the adults were aware of. Jiraiya wasn't too far off when he called her a porcelain doll. Haruka felt fragile like one, but she obviously can take a hit if she's training to be a ninja. And the songs that she hums weren't anything that Tsunade has ever heard. They range from upbeat to all the way to haunting. Tsunade shook away from those thoughts. Either way, I want to meet her. We're all going to meet her. She gave Jiraiya a pointed look. None of this doll nonsense. We can find her during lunch. But that's another thing. She disappears during lunch and after school. Jiraiya flailed again. I heard that some kids tried to follow her one day and she was nowhere to be found, but they only heard her humming. She punched him, partly because he was freaking her out and partly because he was being annoying, but as far as she can tell, Haruka will get the Senju examination. Tsunade can't be the strongest kunoichi if she's afraid of a girl younger than her and Orochimaru likes her. He doesn't like anybody. We're meeting her. I don't wanna. But the fact the girl acts like a deterrent for Jiraiya and other people in general could be the reason why Orochimaru liked her at all. Hell, Tsunade could like anyone that can make the idiot cower like this. It took a week for them to meet up with me, and I can honestly say that I was amused at their persistence in trying to contact me. It wasn't hard to hide from them. I wasn't a stranger to climbing out and up the windows nor using trees to hide. And I was tiny. I'm not above using the cabinet spaces or vents to avoid people. Just because I couldn't actively use those skills from before didn't mean I didn't practice them. I was partly suspicious in why they wanted to talk to me, especially when that pale boy was with them, but I finally decided that I would indulge them. They didn't seem hostile. I gave them an easy smile at their hidden frustration. Hello Orochimaru-san, did you stay dry? Yes, though I must ask, where were you all week? He asked bluntly and got an elbow to the ribs for that. I shrugged. Here and there, mostly practicing and remembering. You can only do so much as a kid. The white-haired boy shot the others a look before the blonde stepped up. We wanted to meet you. Orochi here doesn't open up to people, but he seemed happy to talk to you. I had to meet the person that can get a compliment out of this guy. I giggled at the scandalized look Orochimaru gave. We just talked about the weather, nothing too special about that, and he's nice. I'm sure you're just exaggerating. There is nothing nice about this bastard. He makes little girls cry and will poison you in your sleep. He's as nice as a goddamn snake. Oh, so pretty nice. I looked up and thought. There's this snake that I know in the field I train in, and it likes it when I feed a bit of the rabbits I catch. I beamed at them. It likes fish too. There was a moment. I told you she was fucking weird. Now she's going to get that snake to kill us in our sleep. My eyes glistened as I watched the white-haired boy scamper behind Orochimaru, and the black-haired boy himself just rolled his eyes. He easily pushed off the hands that were clutching his shirt and scowled. She's joking, you moron. Orochimaru crossed his arms. It'd be cool to have a snake that would listen to me, I said wistfully. But I think I like birds better. They were fun to tease anyways. It seems like they were just curious about me, nothing too suspicious, and it seems that it was probably the white-haired boy that instigated this. His name was Jiraiya. I've seen him at the orphanage, but I'm never around that dreary place unless curfew hits, and I'm usually crawling through the window before the time comes as well. The frightened look on his face says it all, and I couldn't help it. He was too easy. He's the one with the ghost stories after all. Hey, Jiraiya-san. The boy froze at his name. Want to see the doll I found? It kind of looks like you. He screamed, and the flash of fear on their faces made me giggle before I had to use my hand to the full extent of my laughter at the sight of Jiraiya running away. This was the most fun I had since being here. I wiped my eyes and looked at the slightly petrified academy students. Tell him, sorry would you? I just couldn't resist messing with him. I'll tell him sorry later if he sits still long enough for it. He just makes it easy, you know? They both nodded dumbly and I giggled again. I think along with taijutsu, I'll work on stealth as well. A heavy-hitting little girl that needs a bell, I can do that and I will do it. You are my best student, you succeeded with your limitations and you are far more worthy than how much you think you are. I will miss you. It was a short life. A frustrating life. But I was fine, I was more than fine. I was healthy and I can do whatever I want. I'll do just that and more. Orochimaru frowned at how easily he was ruffled. The amusement that left the girl made him oddly flustered and he didn't like it. He also didn't like how they let her walk away humming her tune like she didn't pull one over him. He didn't like the fact that she laughed at his expense. But he will admit that she had this air similar to his mother's when she was in a playful mood. Something that his father took the brunt of majority of the time, and his mother got quite violent when her boredom wasn't sated. The thought that there may be another female like his mother made him wary and yet hopeful at the fact that Haruka may be just as smart and not as frustrating to talk to. They were 2 years apart. He was 9 and he was sure to convince his junior and not dangling information in front of him like his parents. Though a part of him knows that being younger will not deter the smaller girl from acting on her own. Orochi, what's caught your mind this time? The familiar tresses of purple, cascading hair entered his vision. Last time you had that look on your face, you gave your father a stroke when you asked? Mother! Red was clearly visible on his pale face. It's nothing like that this time. I've met this girl. A girl? Sharp golden eyes that reflected his own came close to his face. Ryuto. Our little snake has girl problems. What? No, I don't. Haruka-san is beyond strange and I wanted to know how to deal with someone like her. Orochimaru hissed at his mother. The oaf ran away screaming and Tsunade-san just walked away muttering nonsense. What am I supposed to do? The sight of her son cross-armed and angry made her smile. The fact that it was a girl this time that's gotten her son agitated made her smile wider. Her little snake was growing faster than he can shed his skin, and she has to wonder if her little snake was ready to sign their contract. What's this about a girl? Her husband came blurring in. Kyoheim, do I need to be proud? Her husband's messy black hair and stained lab coat, while asking that like it was the next greatest mystery to be solved, made her laugh. The fact that her son inherited his father's social capabilities made her laugh even harder. The flustered looks on both their faces matched perfectly with each other. Kyoheim calmed down. So, her name is Haruka, family name? She's an orphan. She huffed at the blunt reply. What's she look like? She has bright blue, short hair with matching eyes, small, and dressed in rags. Orochimaru frowned. And she smiles a lot. Kyoheim quirked an eyebrow. Oh? Why is that? His nose scrunched up cutely. She's weird but smart. Like you, mother. Smart? Even Ryuto was interested at the fact that their little snake called someone smart. He's only given Tsunade a passable okay when they were studying biology together. Now she has to meet this girl. We should meet her. She nudged her husband. That'll probably take a while. Orochimaru huffed. It took Tsunade and I along with the oaf a full week trying to find and talk to her, and I just told you what happened. Orochi, we're Jounins. I doubt a little girl that just entered the academy can hide from us. But she could clearly see that he was rather put off that this girl was able to avoid him and his friends for a week. She really wants to know what kind of a girl that can hide from her son, seeing that chakra sensing was one of the hardest hitting points and training sessions that they've put on him. To be able to know where your friends and enemies stood on the battleground was crucial. Friendly fire was hard to forgive, and striking an enemy that's not there is embarrassing. It must be embarrassing for Orochimaru to come up empty, probably met up on the girl's term if she sent Jiraiya screaming. Kyoheim nodded to herself in full confidence. We're meeting her tomorrow. Ryuto, I know you're free too, so don't try to get out of it. Her son may have gotten almost all of her looks, but he's definitely Ryuto's child. The matching scowls and twitch of the eye shows who Orochimaru takes after more, but he'll always be a mama's boy. That's why mama has to see if this girl was good for him or not, can't be too careful. Haim, please don't plot against the little girl. That's what I have you for, Rhea. That eye roll her son just did was all from her. It's nice to know that Orochimaru has a chance at being socially inclined compared to the rigid mess of a man his father was when she first met him. Orochimaru's mom was pretty. Her lavender markings and golden eyes that she passed on to her son were easily exemplifying the vicious constrictor that hung around her neck. She wore a kimono that matched her husband's own outfit that was covered by a lab coat. The dad's messy hair and sun-glared glasses made me giggle at his stiff posture that his son shared. It was sudden and I was startled, but the mischief in the mom's eyes weren't a stranger to me. I easily bowed to greet them. Good morning, Orochimaru's mom and dad. Nice weather we're having today, don't you agree? Snake-san must love the sun being out after that rain shower. Let them think whatever they want, you can't change their biased thoughts, take advantage of that. The snake reared and nodded in approval. I like her, she knows what's important. My name is Fuyuchi Kyoheim, and my husband, Ryuto. The woman gestured. Our son talked about a new friend and we just had to meet you. She grinned widely. He doesn't have many of those. Mother. That's cute, a mother teasing her too stoic son. Orochimaru-san was just going along my antics. Jiraiya-san doesn't seem to appreciate them very much. I heard he ran away screaming. Kyoheim grinned. He's falling for his own ghost stories. I hummed. They say that the more you tell it, the more you believe it. I believe that particular idiom refers to liars and their lies. Ryuto adjusted his glasses before being rudely elbowed by his wife. I shrugged, thinking back. I don't think Jiraiya-san is a liar, he's a good storyteller though. Knows how to entertain the other kids, knows how to distract them from the bad. But getting too distracted can hurt them, hurt you. Would you rather lie and hide or face the fear and pain? Knowing the bad is one thing, but knowing it was after you is another. Being hunted was no fun, but hiding is all I know because I was sick. Too sick to be reliable. Don't worry, Dash. We'll tell you all about it, and we'll bring gifts, just no glitter, please. It was weird being sought out, to have people look for me. Is there anything particular you wanted from me, Fuyuchi-san? I peered up to the woman. Not much. She pushed her son in front of her. But what do you think of my son? But a mother protecting her child wasn't too hard to distinguish, if the talking snake didn't point it out, or the fact that she dragged her uncomfortable husband says anything. This was harmless. He's pretty and nice. I ignored Orochimaru's hissing. He should stay under the sun a little more, though. She is correct, hatchling. The snake flickered its tongue. Take time to rest. A hasty strike is not a precise one. Then it turned back to the mother. You should keep this one, too smart to eat. Probably too bony too. And talking snakes were a thing. I could only imagine all the variety of talking animals as well. Hopefully none of the animals are too mad at the fact that I've been hunting the lesser intelligent for my meals. Hunting for the first time as a 5-year-old was a pain. 7 was so much better seeing that I can fully run without falling to my face. And the next pain is starting a fire. It's a pain because 50% of it starting come down to luck. Please don't burn down the base. The fond memory swept me away for the moment before my vision cleared to the little family dotting on their son. The light teasing and animated gestures made me jealous of them, and it was hard not to. I had that once. Look ahead. He's coming. Run. I'll cover why. Nailed it. That's what you get for eating my shit. And it's gone, all gone. I can't even remember their names or their faces, I just know that they were there and losing. And I didn't lose with them. There was an illness, I died from an illness. The spiking, prickling, or aching pain, it didn't matter, all that was covered up by fatigue and just pure weakness when I went. Slipped away easily, and there was one person there to watch me go. He was important, and I can't remember him. I'm right here, Dash. And yeah, it's just like sleeping. He was never good with words, but excitable when it came to missions and pranks. He let me do all sorts of things to his hair because I didn't have any. It felt wrong to have my hair long because of it. His hair was his trophy. Blood-soaked but always there, I wanted to earn it too. Maybe that's why I like Orochimaru so much, pretty black hair that went to his mid-back that I know he takes pride in. The way he's easily riled and the echo of familiar vindictiveness that he promises in his eyes. I think they would have been the greatest enemies or even best friends if they ever met. Nothing more or less than that because they were just that transparent, and understanding that true enemies and friends that will only ever get. I wonder if I have a double here in this world too. She has an abundance of Yin chakra, it could attest to why you humans are uncomfortable around her. Kyoheim nodded slowly to Kageheim. Her chakra is like a murky lake, like the feeling you get before a monster might jump at you. Or a dense fog, like Kiri likes to use to ambush the enemy. Ryoto muttered. The snake nodded. Her Yin is twisted in a way that shrouds her like genjutsu. She is used to hiding and being at a distance. She is used to watching, like a cat on the window. Orochimaru's assessment, or rather Jiraiya, of Haruka being unnerving wasn't unfounded. The Chunins that were teaching at the academy should be ashamed for being afraid of a little girl that was barely learning to control her chakra, but she couldn't blame them for skirting around her. It was like she was looking through them, like someone was over their shoulders without their knowledge when she knows no one is there. The smile that she greeted them turned plastic without twitching a muscle, and her gaze became hazier and hazier until her eyes clouded over. Like a doll indeed. In trade for being the strongest and the most prosperous village, she likes to think it is also the most cruel. They like their image of being as such, and that arrogance of the generation that founded this village was showing in the next. The cutthroat life that was beneath the pretty gilded exterior showed the little demons of human nature. If it wasn't out of necessity, Kyoheim knows that her little clan would have continued to be nomadic, but war has cut their numbers drastically on their already small clan, and it helped so much that they were good allies with the Senju. She likes to think that her mother was a little in love with the Night Aim, and that was returned, but she died and politics were a stronger poison than anything her clan could have come up with. But that necessity led to her boys, and she thinks that was a good enough trade. Even if her end of the deal was expiring faster than what she was giving them. We should invite her over. God knows Orochi needs another friend. She decided finally. Anyone that can make Jiraiya-chan run away screaming with his own stories is good in my books. And it helps that she's so cute. They're young, they both aren't even 10 yet. There was that same glint that Ryuto knows he can't fight. We have to get them while they're young, especially when Orochi is still naive. Our boy is too smart for his own good, and this is my chance to ensure he's taken care of. Kyoheim knows that it wasn't just the idea that someone around his age was almost as smart as him that caught his attention. He was too inexperienced to pin at the fact that he was slightly frustrated at the fact that Haruka wasn't looking at him when they interacted. The need to prove himself like all the other little boys was driven to establish himself rather than let him be the shadow of whatever she was looking at. It was sad that a little girl was already cracked from whatever that tried to break her, but that easy acceptance was the wall that she knew her son can hide behind. Haruka was already weathered and aware of the happenings around her, and that's something that Jiraiya was missing that Kyoheim hoped he had. Orphans were much more hardened against the harsh reality of life, but she forgot that Jiraiya was still a little boy too. A little boy that doesn't know the world outside the walls yet. In a village that's coming out of its juvenile years itself, information on every villager was still coming way. It didn't help that nobody didn't care for no-named orphans or beggars. They were all treated with suspicion and a thought that was easily ignored. She didn't deem the little girl suspicious. She wasn't a spy, seeing she would be a very bad spy if she was. And the look of longing that Haruka hides so very well when she looks at them was enough to know Orochimaru would be safe around her. It was jealousy, but the absence of fear made the mother know that it was free of all influence from the massive opinion of the adults and children around. Snakes were terrifying creatures, yes, but they all need to realize snakes don't stab each other in the back. Her clan features terrify the population around her, and now that's passed to her son. One more person that'll watch her son's back, she needs to ensure it. Ryuto, help me snoop. Her husband sighed despairingly. Haim, you're on duty, we're on duty. That's what shadow clones are for. And Henge. I'll find her files in the academy, you can stalk her. I love you. Ryuto needs to stop indulging his wife, but it's not like this is the first time they did this. Jiraiya had the same treatment, only the poor boy was a stuttering mess against Kageheim. But as they say, mother knows best. And the fact that there's no use fighting his wife. I was being stalked. I don't know how I know, but the feeling of eyes boring down at the back of my head and the chill in the oncoming summer heat was telling. The village itself was easy to hide in, little holes to jump through and fences to hop over. There was also the fact that it was painfully easy to access the rooftops if one learns how to climb and abandons moral concepts of boundaries and trespassing. But I was still being followed. Panic bloomed, and the feeling being way out of my depth settled in. I swallowed the bile that was fear, but I could feel tears form at the corner of my eyes. Helpless was something I didn't want to be. Being weak was something I absolutely loathed, but I was a 7-year-old little girl that was barely scraping by. I was protected before, and now some unknown was hunting me, and I couldn't do anything about that in a village that had trained assassins as their popular source of income. We're survivors first and foremost. We will not go down without a fight. Just because they're faster doesn't mean you can't predict where they'll go. Cut them down before they cut us down. You don't need to have blood on your hands to know that theirs are bloodier. I had a kunai, and I had the will. I'm not about to let this life slip away from me, and I'll take my stalker with me if they try. I'll gladly cut them open and put that kunai down before you hurt yourself, hatchling. A familiar hiss sounded. You are surprisingly agile. Why, you were the one that was following me? I kept my blade in place, shaking. Why? Kageheim hissed softly. A mother simply being overzealous with her instincts, though it seemed she merely frightened a hatchling instead. She said with great disapproval. Do forgive my mistress, her hatchling is her treasure. No, I won't. I don't appreciate being hunted and be scared out of my wits. I don't even talk to her son. Yeah, he keeps searching me out, but I'm not initiating first contact or encouraging it. As far as I can tell, she can go fuck off. The snake simply shook her head and sighed. See what you did? The hatchling is all coiled up and ready to strike. You better apologize before we find out how potent her poison is. The rustling sound of the foliage made me tense, and I gripped harder on the metal handle. The sight of purple came, and the sheepish grin made me scowl more. Sorry? Yeah, she can go fuck herself. The little rattler knows how to hold a grudge. A massive grudge. After their little misunderstanding, Kyoheim decided that she was going to teach her. Informally, that is because her average grades, which she knows were fixed to be like that by the little rattler, wasn't screaming outstanding from the rest of the batch of broodlings. The academy hasn't quite worked out all the kinks and paperwork to recognize or advance the more special brand of kids. She could drop hints to the Nidame about her interests, but the little rattler was more of a slow approach. The little thing was too high-strung when threatened, After the confrontation, the little thing didn't calm down, nor did she move from the thicket that they were in after Haruka took their merry, little, fun chase. And for a while she stayed there, even after Kyoheim had left, and she only knew that because she continued to watch her, outside Haruka's chakra reach. But all that didn't matter. She was determined, and she and her husband were researchers, so making time for a little impromptu student wasn't hard. They managed with Orochimaru, so dividing time between the labs and nurturing was simple, seeing their personal labs were at home anyways. But damn, the little rattler knows how to hold a massive grudge. Mother, what is this? A peace offering. I scared your friend and now she's offended. Kyoheim sighed, giving her son a nicely wrapped box. Make sure she gets it. You mean Haruka-san? What did you do? Just give her this and invite her to dinner, will you? Orochimaru gave his mother a strange look. Very well, though why are you so interested in her? You weren't this interested with Tsunade-san or the moron. Kyoheim gave her son a serious look. She'll be useful in the future, you've seen what she can do without chakra. He nodded in agreement and turned to leave. I can't guarantee that she'll accept the invitation. That's fine, we'll just ask again. Dread pooled and pity welled for the little girl, but didn't feel bad seeing now he has to find her now. Finding her was a task in itself, and he had a feeling that his mother was doing this for his expense as well. The fact that he can be in the general area as Haruka curbed some of the frustration he had, but actually finding her? Might as well task him to teach a cat how to sit. Doable but arduous and not really worth the effort. But the fact that his chakra sensing was being defeated by a girl 2 years younger than him? Unacceptable. Her chakra was like a dense fog, it shrouded her nicely when he tries to sense her, and even when she steps out into view, it only takes one step before she disappears again. And when he thinks he's found her, the shadow he's been following ends up teasing him. He will find her. He ends up getting lucky. One of the Chunin instructors was talking to her as classes were being released, and he easily seized the chance to corner her. Orochimaru gave her a pointed look, showing his package when she looked up. He was sure her lips curled downward from her annoying smiles. His mother said that she had scared her. Wholly believable, but what for? Orochimaru-san, what can I do for you? He twitched at how easily she could come up on him. Her foggy chakra was never changing even as she got close, evenly spread despite her moving. Mother sent this as an apology. He presented the box. May I ask what she did? She stalked me. I didn't know who was following me, but anyone that follows a little girl in the lesser part of the village can only have malicious intent. Her words were scalding and blunt through her smile, a far cry from the playful, air-headed annoyance that she usually puts on. Orochimaru couldn't help to wince at how the air twisted at the reminder, like how the air becomes heavy and ominous to an approaching storm. He didn't like the fact that his mother's antics were befalling on him. If it makes you feel better, mother usually only do that to people that interests her. He tried for his mother. She's very unorthodox. Father says it's her creativity that makes her a successful researcher. Her approach to things are unconventional. Orochimaru was taken aback when she gave a soft laugh. He was slightly offended when she did and a little angry, but this was a far better reaction than he was expecting to get. Her laughing meant something positive. It wasn't a cruel or mocking laughter, but it still puzzled him on why she's laughing. Compared to all the other adults, she would be unorthodox and unconventional, as you say, she said in mirth. I guess I'm used to being passed over, the attention is new, so being stalked freaked me out. That made his lips thin, the status quo that was far too rigid and unkind to anything that was outside than what was normal and acceptable. The blinders on others that made it hard to step outside his home and endure the not-so-quiet whispers. But that did not stop him from reaching higher and going farther. He likes to think that selective ignorance was a small price to pay for their carelessness. As a ninja in training, it's his job to improve himself, and he was not above in taking advantage of unsecured doors, windows, and left-out keys and notes. He was taught early on that if he wants to learn, he will seek it out himself, whether it be from books or self-discovery. So, his ever-restless mind brought up the next question. How did you know that she was stalking you? Haruka looked up and thought. I'm not sure, there was a prickling sensation and a chill that kept following me. Orochimaru gave a calculating gaze. You might be a natural sensor, even I can't sense my mother even though I've been training at it for a couple of years now. He scowled. I think you're giving me too much credit, it was just a gut feeling, she said. And it's like I said, the attention is new, so I think I'll be more receptive to it. So this was humbleness. He had seen it in the scant few adults that were old and wizened that touched the outskirts of his memory, but to see it from someone near his age was strange. All the kids were arrogant in a way, prideful and exaggerated from either heritage or skill, and even he knows he fell into that trap to prove himself. But he knew she was skilled, far more than anyone believes her to be, and he doesn't understand why she hides it. Certainly not modesty. That light in her eyes sometimes mimics the one his mother has when she knows something that he doesn't, and is fond at the fact that he gets frustrated with her. Haruka was not his mother. You're confusing. Why do you not show the instructors what you can do? My father dug up the fact that you've been purposely fixing your grades to be average. Why? I'm an orphan child, one of many that the poor matron takes care of. Orochimaru was not impressed. That does not answer my question. Her lips twitched and that light in her eyes just shined before she beckoned for him to have his ear. The almost sly look made him hesitate but leaned forward anyways to listen to this taciturn secret that she had. There's a certain freedom you can have without the recognition, trade in the security to go out of bounds, and watch the world go round from the highest perch. She whispered before backing away. I'm rather happy to watch. He didn't understand. He knew the words, but the way they were stringed together was foreign to him. The faraway look that hazed over and the suddenly, he felt like that secret was something that he wouldn't get until he was older. Which was frustrating because he knew he was older than her. What was the difference between him and her for her to be able to have a glimpse of the world that the adults knew? Orochimaru let out a huff, and his eye twitched seeing her amusement spike up at that. He loathes the thought that there was a person that was similar to his mother, but at least she was quiet. He likes that she doesn't initiate the first words to a conversation, but so far she's always led it to her liking. Whimsical and yet direct, not a combination that he liked, but at least she understands what he's saying. Mother invites you to dinner tonight. I recommend taking it or else she'll use more drastic measures, he said briskly. Save us both the trouble that she's more than willing to cause. Oh, so this is normal for her. I'm sorry. He rolled his eyes. You can be sorry by coming to dinner, you can suffer with me. She giggled. You have such high hopes in life, such a sunny person you are. What the hell did that mean? Geez, what the hell are you so broody about now? Tsunade sat next to Orochimaru. You've been like this for a couple of days now. He made a noise of annoyance at the reminder. My mother tasked me with getting Haruka-san to join us for dinner, but it seems like my mother's antics were much more consequential than she realizes, and I'm paying the price for it. You're still bothering with the creepy girl? Why? Jiraiya shouted. Why indeed? Haruka has been far more trouble to deal with, and she hasn't been doing anything in regards to said trouble. But it was the combination of curiosity and outright being forced to interact with her by his mother. He does not like playing this massive game of hide and seek with Haruka, but his pride all but demands to keep doing it at each failure. Luck should not be the reason why he succeeds. Both times he's been able to find her was due to luck, and he'll be damned if he doesn't succeed in tracking her down to her exact location. Your fear of her amuses me. Jiraiya made a noise. She knows where I live. Orochimaru rolled his eyes. She's an orphan as well, she lives there. She does? Tsunade punched him. Of course she does. How many orphanages do you know? I'm pretty sure that's the only one. Jiraiya whimpered at the pain and the thought of sharing the building with Haruka. But I never see her. The only other girl there is Ayam-chan, and she has a room to herself. That was disturbing. Orochimaru had easily discarded the notion, but his childish mind still entertained the thought of Haruka being a ghost. A spiteful doll that haunted these halls, and her way of disappearing was almost supernatural, along with how the air shifts around her. Stop it! Tsunade growled nervously. You're being stupid. Jiraiya shot up in terror. Could it be Ayam-chan that lost the doll? Shut up. Tsunade punched him again with more force to knock him into the nearby wall. Stop spreading rumors like that. You can't fight a ghost, Jiraiya said hysterically. Everything will just go through it. And a thought popped into his ever-thinking mind. Haruka was similar to his mother. They were like forces of nature that you can't simply power through. His mother was like a raging storm, something that he and his father endured lest they get blown away by the unyielding wrath of her determination, whilst Haruka was the rolling fog that rendered any person blind unless she deems them worthy of her guidance. She is a rolling fog. Her chakra extends her reach, and the feeling of disorientation and being lost from trying to aimlessly navigate through it eventually builds the foreboding feeling similar to being in the dark. Nobody was truly afraid of the dark, but rather what could lurk in it. But the conclusion he reached from this little epiphany did not mean he liked it. His mother was trouble enough to go along with, and the thought of indulging another female like her made him grimace. It was the same reason why he didn't indulge Tsunade, The aggression that his friend displays was painful, and he was just glad that the oaf was there to bear it. Although, compared to Tsunade, Haruka didn't seem that bad, and she's definitely the type to read rather than to unnecessarily get into trouble. He hopes. Something's changed. Rather than get all huffy and trying to seek me out, Orochimaru sat in a nearby chair and started to read. He obviously knew I was in the area but didn't bother to waste energy to actually find me. He still wanted to talk to me, but it seems he got tired of my hiding. It was the same as the next day, this time outside, and did the same with taking out his book. He seemed happier to soak up the sun rays and easily crawl under the tree when it got too much. Like a cat, but he was more of a snake, an adorable little snake. On the third day, I decided to humor him, seeing that it was only fair now. Being fed up with trying to find me, and instead decided to use whatever time he had to be productive than do something that entertained me. How can I help you, Orochimaru-san? Seeing him jump made me gleeful, and the irritation on him made me giggle. So you finally decide to show yourself. You're always rushing to get to the end, Orochimaru-san. It's good to see that you're slowing down. His downward curl of his lips said it all. He was not happy with me but nodded anyways. It was a leap for a 9-year-old to consent to someone younger than them, but then, this boy wasn't exactly normal and boring. Have you thought about the dinner invitation? I think it's about time to face the music. Your mother is very persistent. My eyes stayed steady on him. A family trait? He turned away from me. Follow me, it's a long walk. I followed his command with a beaming grin. He was definitely fed up with me. It wasn't exactly fond, but more like he's resigned to deal with me and chose to continue to deal with me. We're all idiots, but there are some things that stupid is good for. I swear if you weren't around, I'd roast that fucking bird and eat it. Your brother is special in the head. He's a damn piece of work, and I just hope you won't be up there with him. My legs stopped moving at the memory. The heartbeat of my heart was resounding, and the familiar black hair that went in every direction as it fell like a waterfall staticked in with the voices. The few years that I was conscious to these memories, the memories that stripped the naive innocence of this body's mind to mature it to an adult's, this was the first time that made me come to a standstill. Something that was so moving that it froze me to the spot. I had a brother. A big brother. Let me paint you another flower. We don't have enough of those around. I brought you back something. The others said that you'd like it. It seems stupid. Dash. Don't listen to them. I didn't do it, and they fucking know it. He was brash and rough, too violent, and yet he liked his solitude. He was kind under the many layers of bristling energy that he expended on his missions, and he always kept his promises. He never hid anything and came back from his jobs for me. That bird he got was for me too, some type of crow to keep me company because it was just like him, trained it to be like him. Call. Shut up. Call. Damn it, fuck off. Call. Dash. Tell your damn bird to fuck off. I couldn't remember his name. Haruka-san? My vision cleared to see black, cascading silk hair. Are you alright? He was faceless, no other outstanding features to identify him. Just like all the others. Sorry, I just remembered something. I looked up to the sky. It's nothing concerning though, just startled. But he shouldn't be like the others, he was the most important person to me. I will never forget you. Never. And I knew he wouldn't, but I did. Dinner with the Fuyuchis was like any normal household dinner. With snakes, that is. Kyoheim was still as pushy as I met her, and Ryudo was the typical husband who read the newspaper that nodded along with his wife. Only he was reading his research notes and scribbling in them, and I couldn't care what he was studying. Science stuff was never my area, the detailed stuff anyways. I liked biology better, seeing you can snap a neck and not learn the mechanics of it. My fellow student up and disappeared to leave me to these snakes, much more better conversationalists than him anyways. Hatchling, you should not hide the prowess of your mind. Why you would do such a thing is inconceivable. Yes, the pursuit of the mind is one of the many things you humans lack. You don't have to share knowledge, it isn't free after all, but when tested you should prove your superiority to the rats that scrabble for the crumbs you leave behind. I already know I'm smarter, I said lightly. I'm using my time to train my body, I don't need to waste it to show up other children. The brown snake shook his head. I forget you humans are so fragile, weak-bodied unless you train harshly. Us snakes have naturally strong bodies. Of course, if we can't crush you, then our poisons will do you in. Kageheim huffed. Do not gloat, Tezuka. I remember that your arrogance once made you fail to strangle a little mouse. Strong as you may be, that cockiness has made you lose sight of your prey. Tezuka reared his head and hissed angrily. You try to kill a tiny appetizer and see if you can successfully strangle it. I wasn't about to flop on it like the toads. I like my kills dirt-free. Excuses? It was fun and all to watch two snakes fight, but the new area that I was invited to was distracting. Cool colors of purples, blues and greens that were lined with various tones of brown decorated the house. It smelled of various herbs and chemicals, though I could smell mint trying to cover it. It was a mixture of trying to be sterile and comfortable at the same time. Something that hospitals try to achieve. Do they have hospitals here? I don't want to go to a hospital. Hatchling, care to share your thoughts? It's very beautiful here. I would like to live among the trees too. I stepped up to look out the window. Maybe on top of a mountain too, the view would be wonderful. The birds chirped and sunlight danced through the leaves. There's a whole world out there. I'll bring back a little piece of it, I promise. This world wasn't too different from the other. People still lived and died, wars are still raging on, and families were still important. The birds, cats, and dogs were the same, and I haven't met any mystery animal from my hunting excursions but the talking snakes. The lifestyle was the same too, only I can be a part of it. No, not a part, but exercise it. We weren't part of a military or fancy organization, just a ragtag team of violent killers that were aimed at the darkest of human decency. A little group that was free to do whatever they want in the dark while scouting out the game in the day. This organized setting was too suffocating for my tastes, but it's a start, and I won't waste it. Play that song, just one more time. It's too bad you didn't get to kick their asses, only the idiots here. We'll miss you. I'll choose my freedom, there's nothing to hold me back. She is a dense fog as you say, but when she is not on the ground she is up in the sky with the clouds. Kagaheim said. She is a bird, either an owl or a songbird, I don't know. Does it matter? Our cousins are flighty, and are always singing one song or another, Tezuka said. The lizards will have a fit once they hear that another one of the bird clans might get a summoner. Well, if the hatchling signs a contract, that is. Hopefully not the songbirds. Definitely not the songbirds. I still want to train her. Kyoheim cut in. She'll be a waste, and Orochi needs a sparring partner anyways. Orochimaru frowned at his mother's declaration but didn't say anything. It was best to let her do as she wished, and it wasn't like anyone was going to stop her. Nobody would raise a brow to a little orphan girl's goings, and if anyone important is notices, his mother knew the night aim. He didn't understand the fascination. He himself is fascinated, but in the end Haruka was a nobody. A nobody that likes to stay as a nobody. She doesn't speak to other children and let the instructors look down on her, along with the fact that she has no one to go back to. A lonely person that likes to be alone. But she speaks well when he talks to her, no stuttering from disuse or a nervous habit to show her discomfort. The state of knowing and a silent confidence to show she doesn't really need the help. Or want it. Unlike Tsunade, who turns to her grandfather and uncle for help, and unlike Jiraiya, who dismisses it for pride. So unlike him, despite the fact they both sought out their own foundations, because he has parents to guide him whilst she doesn't. Like she was her own guide to the surrounding world around them, the easy amble to take in the sights while he was rushing to the end. Orochimaru would like to know what she sees in the world. His father did say that his mother's point of view of things were unique and help him think on different tracks. But as nice as it sounds to have a soundboard that wasn't his parents', the issue still stands that he wasn't willing to put up with. Mother, if you wish to train Haruka-san, then you must ask her yourself. It's hard to get a hold of her, and I will not waste my training time running around uselessly when she doesn't want to be found. He scowled while crossing his arms. Ryuto snorted. I'll have to agree with him, Kyoheim. Haruka-chan is your problem if you want to teach her. The mother pouted. Fine, Orochi, when we all start training, we're going to play a mass game of hide and seek since you can't find a girl who's younger than you. Her son paled even more at the thought. Ryuto, I want egg custards. The two snakes perked. Oh, may I have some too? Yes, I would love to have egg custards as well. The sight of his son looking longingly at him as well made him slouch in defeat before getting up to prepare the ingredients. He was thankful that it was easy to make, but making the dessert always fell to him. Ryuto won't deny that it was one of the things he charmed his wife with when they were first going out. She favored egg dishes, so it was natural for him to present his dessert to her. To say, marrying into a family of snakes was much more easier than others would think. It was Kyoheim that had a hard time grabbing his attention. Snakes were vain and prideful but were easily swayed by the right offerings. They were also very possessive in anything that catches their eyes, and he didn't know whether to pity the little girl or fear that he may have a daughter to worry about. He was a smart man. Blind he was not. It was rather annoying. Kyoheim's insistence to train with her was unusual and still highly suspicious, but it was with its benefits. I already knew a lot of things to work out my body, but she was a kunoichi for the longest time. A kunoichi came from outside of the village walls when she was about 10 years old, and knew a lot of interesting stuff from different teachers and experiences. Like how to make your basic explosive tags plus variations. She was a poison specialist that used seals to deploy on enemies. Chakra sensing was her best friend, and stealth and trap setting were her minions. She was no seals master, but it was convenient and hard to track or even recognize, so it was very useful. Like how you can launch a bunch of kunai in a modified explosive tag. The thought of a little piece of paper causing a big boom still made me giddy. I couldn't care less of the intricacies of a gravity seal or the wonders of a seal that can contain a full camping set with a roaring fire and a log, but an explosive tag that can go boom? Ready to fire it up? Please put down the match. Your brother needs to stop spoiling you. The uncontrolled joy of setting off my first explosion sent a rampant itch to do it again. The fire that was set ablaze and the raining of the rocks made me feel powerful. The fact that my very first task with the modified explosive seals was to catch her husband or Orochimaru off guard with them. The woman filled the damn things with itching powder and syrup. The males of the family were not amused to walking into plastic wrap at the doorway that lead into the kitchen right before the 2 seals went off. It was glorious, and consequences be damned. That is, until I learned Orochimaru was an equal adversary who teamed up with his father. It wasn't all fun though, satisfying but painful seeing Kyoheim decided that I warmed up to her enough to actually get to the training part she promised. Running was my favorite activity, even though I wanted to heave out my lungs, and I was getting intimate with chakra drain from practicing control. And sparring with Orochimaru sucked because he still hasn't forgiven me for spraying him with syrup. At least I had better form than him. The only thing that was saving him was that he was physically stronger than me. Honestly, it wasn't like I was holding it against him when he turned my skin blue. That was far worse than the syrup. My skin was blue for days. Vindictive jerk. But today was a quiet day. Orochimaru's parents were out on missions and I was back to my clearing. The soft sway of the weeds and grass in the late summer breeze, a slow step forward and a flowing step around, it was peaceful. Step by step, slow and steady. These forms are a beautiful dance that hides a lethal secret. Practice them slow and your body will never forget. Practice them fast so your mind can keep up. I'll take my time, go at my own pace. I'll enjoy whatever's given and deal with whatever trouble that comes. Play that song again. Is it a sad or happy song? I can't tell. The notes filtered in with every step, and this grassy plain turned into large wooden room. The sounds bounced off the walls and the melody reverberated like wood chimes. The foreboding silence and the invisible clock that was counting down made the distraction all the more welcomed. The faraway conversation and laughter, I'll miss it. I do miss it, but that was fine. Everybody is too loud. Want to head up to the roof? The easy clouds that push off the sky and the sinking blue sky that made room for the night gave way to an imaginary colder breeze. The muffled words and the sparks of static didn't give me the pleasure of the conversation. It never does. But I could still relive the moment, sitting next to this faceless man that was my brother, and let myself get swept away. Haruka-san, you're daydreaming again. And reality snapped. The quick blink of the world coming to was disorienting, and I let my arms drop. You've gotten good at finding me, Orochimaru-san. You weren't exactly hiding this time. I shrugged. Is there anything I can help you with? I was the one that needed you, Haruka-san. I looked over to see Tsunade coming up to me. Let's be friends. What? I want to be friends, Tsunade said determinedly. If Orochi likes you, then I need to save you before he corrupts you with his holier-than-thou ways. This world doesn't need another person that talks higher than us lesser mortals. Orochimaru scoffed. Please, if people actually picked up a dictionary and learned, then I'd actually be regaining the brain cells that I've lost. And I told you not to call me that, you infernal woman, he hissed. It's called being a kid, live a little, Tsunade retorted. At least not everyone is like Jiraiya. A sharp cry of indignation came from behind a rock. Might as well be seeing every other conversation I hear as pointless as it is idiotic. Orochimaru sneered. At least Haruka-san can contribute, and keep up with what I have to say. Again, us lesser mortals do not know how to formulate or whatever you do or think. That doesn't even make any sense. I contemplated in stopping them, but another part of me wanted to let them continue. The rare moment to see Orochimaru riled and hissing was a sight to see. He seemed much more animated, and his age compared to his imitation of his father's calm demeanor. Well, imitation would be an insult, more reflecting the father seeing it was enforced by an exasperating mother. It didn't help that his mother's summons probably taught him to be holier than thou as well. Haruka-san. I tensed, feeling a hand on my shoulder. You're spacing out again. I gave a kind smile as she took back her hand. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt your moment. We were not having a moment, they both said while shooting each other a glare. Whatever you both say. Jiraiya. Get your scaredy butt over here, Tsunade shouted. Be a man and say hi. She'll curse me. I don't want to be a doll. The blonde girl stomped over and we both heard a scuffle behind some rocks. I gave a quick glance at Orochimaru in question before he sighed. She said that if there was going to be another female in my life, then she was going to be your friend as well. Something about patience to deal with me and you being another girl for her to hang out with. He crossed his arms. She shouldn't be so scared to approach you by herself. I tilted my head. Why would she be afraid of me? He rolled his eyes in return. As if you don't know, they come to me every time you pull something. He hissed. Your shenanigans are making them less tolerable than they usually are. You mean our shenanigans? I laughed. I specifically remembered you being the one to put that little garden snake in my class. I didn't even know they can get that big. I'll find the most venomous snake I can and watch it bite you. It's rather warm, don't you think? I ignored his threat. I'm not looking forward to the winter, it'll be too cold to come out here. I woke up in the cold, the still chill that the thin blanket that was covering me at the time did too little to keep any body warmth in. My breath was visible with the shivers and the only saving grace was the wooden walls that kept the unforgiving winds away. The moment of coherency didn't come until after I went down with all the other children to share the fire. The flames melted my thoughts and suddenly I was Haruka. My 4th year alive ended quickly, thankfully. I personally was grateful that I didn't really remember anything before that. The thought of being useless already grated my nerves and being a helpless 1, 2, 3, and even 4-year-old would have been torture. It makes me wonder though, the 3 years I've been running around on my own, does the matron even notice my absence? Probably, someone had to sign my papers to the academy unless there was an acting law that forces orphans to go. Not that no orphan would try not to, they all eat up the hero and honor speech and I'm pretty sure the matron was getting a sizable check from each kid that's going to the academy. The meals and clothes in the orphanage were decent enough, so I'll give the old lady the benefit of the doubt of any foul play. Children are always off limits, any hits on them will get our contractor a bullet in his head for free. But we're not kind, we'll help them with the basics but it's up to them to survive. We're already fighting for the future, we don't have the resources to help theirs. And after we win, there will be less children that won't need help. You'll need to break that habit of spacing off if you want to stay alive as a ninja. I shushed him. Let me have my moment. The voices were a muffled murmur. It's good to stop for the moment to think back. Because just because this is a new life doesn't mean I will ignore the last life's hardships. The cruel lessons that made the simpler things more appreciative, and mundane games more fun. And the lingering tolls that piled up will always leave marks. Myself being one of them. We're survivors too, we made it then so can they. Your moments will get you killed. I hummed as the last of the voices went away. No they won't, they can only help. It might even help you one day. I highly doubt you being an open target will help anyone. Why do you think I train my katas? I may not look it, but my mind and body are always restless. Normal meditation doesn't work for me, but if I perform my katas then it'll be easy for me to filter through my head than in the middle of a street. I smiled at him. So don't worry about me, I appreciate it though. I was not worried for you. Haruka-san. Tsunade came stomping with Jiraiya in tow. Call me Tsunade. Call this guy whatever and God knows you know Orochi far too long to keep calling him Orochimaru-san. He gave a pointed glare at the pale boy. I told you to not call me that. Orochimaru hissed again. And she knows how to respect others, don't teach her your bad habits. My mouth twitched wider. Then how about Jiraiya-san, Tsunade-senpai, and Orochimaru-senpai? Tsunade grinned at that. Even you have to agree to that. It's called respect and thinking, and get off me you moron. She's harmless and airheaded, Stop being afraid of a 7-year-old girl. She doesn't live in the orphanage. The white-haired boy shouted and pointed at me. I never see you. I shrugged. I go back in time for curfew. I don't like it there, so I don't stay there. What about during meal times? Or sleep? Ayam-chan would know if you were there. Jiraiya was still behind Orochimaru as a meat shield. Unless you were a ghost. I hunt for my food, I told you before. Rabbits and fish. There's some wild apple trees and other fruits in the forest too, don't worry, you'll see me a lot more once winter hits. I said, looking up. I don't like the cold much. They're cute and furry, yeah, but this is the closest to I can take you in taking a life. You skin it like this, and make sure to save all the guts to bait for the bigger animals with. You're definitely my sister, a clean shot in the skull. We were close, taught me lots until I wasn't able to move anymore. Family bonding for us was different, we lived differently, and it was already established that normal was boring. He was determined to do everything we can together, everything I wanted to do too. Even if it got gross, gory, or even ended in his humiliation, we did it together. He specifically was racing the clock for me, along the line I think I've already resigned myself to dying. See? Airheaded and will get herself killed. Or she was actually talking to other ghosts. We're not alone. If they're invisible, then why the hell isn't she? How the hell should I know? You're the genius here. An arm wrapped over my shoulders, making me tense again. I'm sure you know that this is normal, but it'll get annoying soon enough. Tsunade said cheerfully. So my kohai, what's been up with you and Orochi? Fuyuchi-san was interested in me and is training me with Orochimaru-senpai. I'm not really too sure why though, but I don't think it really matters with Fuyuchi-san. Tsunade perked at that. Kiyone-chan likes you? Even Ryuji-san? Then Ji-san will love you for sure. That sounded ominous for some reason. The foreboding feeling that came up made me shook my head in declination. Maybe some other time when we all have the day off. Fuyuchi-san is rather pushy to start with, and he may not act it. Orochimaru-senpai likes rolling around in the dirt when we spar. Tsunade grinned widely. I know, right? Just like any other boy, getting all rough and tough to prove himself. How do you know them, by the way? I asked. You all seem to be the most unlikely group to come together. Tsunade nodded. Our families were allies in the warring eras, and Hashirama-ji-san invited Orochi's family to join the village. Poisons and our medical techniques went well together, and it helped that his clan was really smart. She frowned. But now it's just one family in our clans now. Though the topic was widely unspoken, the war between the 5 great nations put a heavy toll on the forces. It was largely the reason why so many orphans and refugees were able to slip under the radar, seeing the ninjas themselves were just getting used to the idea of being the leading force to protect the village, and not just their clans. The power struggle was stupid but needed. Hopefully the war ends soon. I dropped enough hints and I know you're ignoring them. Orochimaru rounded on me. You will do better at the academy. Wouldn't it be more suspicious for me to suddenly be doing well on my tests? I'd rather not be called a cheater. His eyes narrowed. You're cheating yourself? I shrugged. They're just grades and I don't really care what others think. I'll tell Mother that you've been holding back in our spars. Don't think I didn't notice how some of your punches were weak or how your kicks were suddenly strong. You're good, but you don't fool me. Oh, so you did notice. I didn't look at him. Don't worry, I won't hold back anymore now, and I'm pretty sure Fuyuchi-san knows too. That made him angrier and hissed. Why are you holding back? I'm not used to attention, I told you. I shifted my feet. And I guess I can't bring myself to hurt you either. Orochimaru sputtered. I hurt you. And he went back to angry. Don't tell me you're going to hold back on the enemy as well. Never hold back on the enemy. My eyes darkened, but I still kept my smile. The stillness in Orochimaru's form at the sudden change of air was amusing but didn't stave the fact that his words were insulting. They're killing us one by one and killed thousands more. A sob story isn't an excuse to be spared, especially with us. Don't mistake my unwillingness as kindness, senpai. The words came out easily. I'm sure you've also noticed that I'm not normal, not as my usual self, I mean. Like you, senpai, I think differently. My mind works and is growing differently from everyone else, even yours. It's a bit more complicated, but don't worry, complicated doesn't mean better. And don't be so quick to assume, being close-minded doesn't suit you, Orochimaru-senpai. I took a step back to let him breathe. I still didn't know the working mechanics of chakra, but like any other power, it reacts to the user's intent to a degree. The raw chakra from within that was unrefined and untamed easily responded to my emotions, more so since the chakra control exercises. Hand signs were pointless if you can simply twist its nature accordingly, imagine and direct the jutsus as see fit. But I guess the problem lied in the more intensive jutsus. Too much chakra needed and precise control seemed out of my reach if chakra was constantly changing and within me as well. The clone and substitution jutsu was easy enough, so was the transformation one. Seeing I used it nearly all the time, but seeing a kid that was showing off a fire jutsu was almost impossible for me to mimic. The taste of smoke and ash was in my mouth for days, as that following week was a haze from being exhausted. It's fine, I had explosion tags. I'm digressing. Raw chakra was easy for me to manipulate, and Kyoheim was training me hard to take advantage of that. She said something about being water or wind-natured. Don't know what that means, but I have a feeling I was going to find out soon. If it makes you feel better, you're the only one to actually know, I said absent-mindedly. You're the only one to care to get close enough to me. Fuyuchi-san is close, but she's not exactly a friend. I hummed. I like you. I'll admit that you being smarter than the rest of the kids here is a large reason that I do, but your sunny personality charmed me. Orochimaru looked at me like he ate something sour. You're utterly deceiving. Does that bother you? I tilted my head. That I'm not what you thought I am? You're still airheaded and my junior. It'll be remiss of me if a little thing like this changes my opinion of you when you're already naturally frustrating. He hissed at me. But I expect you to not hold back anymore. You're disrespecting me and yourself. Why are you so bothered about the grades though? In the long run, they won't matter in the end. He made a noise before walking away, leaving me alone in the clearing in front of his house. I was a bit disappointed with his reaction, but I guessed that Orochimaru was still a child despite being smarter than the rest of the our generation. There's just some things that one can't understand without truly maturing. There are concepts that you can only get through experience. I personally don't see the difference between killing animals and people. Sure, one is furrier than the other, but in the end animals can be intelligent like humans and humans are more savage than animals. Fear was shared between all animals including humans. It's expressed through all of them, and I can imagine watching the terrified eyes of a rabbit would be the same as a human's. I imagine it'll be just as easy to plunge the knife and watch the life leave them. It is. The kunai in my hand felt right. It was old, had all kinds of scratches on it along with small amounts of rust that was still there despite me sharpening it on various rocks. It was smaller than the standard, but it did the job regardless. Just because it wasn't new doesn't mean it couldn't be effective. I easily spun it on my finger and took a look at the training dummy full of shuriken and kunai alike. It was hit in various places, but none that would have instantly killed if it were a real person. Sure, there was one on the cheek, but the person would just have another hole to breathe through. Aiming for the heart will give them a moment to live. The shock might kill them right then and there, but it's long enough for them to scream. Aim for the head if it bothers you. Brain dead is still dead if they survive that somehow. Aim for the neck if you want a statement. Nothing screams revenge like a good blood shower for the cops to show up to. I prefer snapping necks. I'd rather not get blood on me at all. They were a violent group and I was a part of that. We hid in the shadows that the light casted, and I was within the darkest parts of it to be kept safe. I wasn't just not used to the attention, it puts me on high alert, one of the reasons why Kyoheim stalking me freaked me out so bad. Attention means they can track us, find us, don't give them that advantage. But I was stuck to my imaginations in the dark wondering if they'll come back. I was too much of a liability to be on the field. I had the ability but my health was compromised. Look, if they ever come here, nobody will stop you from tearing into them. If they do, there's a high chance that they might be a traitor or your insane brother. Everyone knows how you feel, and I even doubt your brother would stop you either. It was probably a good thing that the location was never compromised when I was there. I can only hope it stayed that way. Till the last breath, we'll fight. Haruka. My eyes shifted to Orochimaru's ever-imposing forming. Spar with me, I want to improve, and you should prepare yourself even more against the enemy. He got into stance. I do not feel like dying because I was under false pretenses of my own skill. The reason I go all out on you is so you would get used to the ferocity. What master would I be to set you up for failure? I threw my kunai easily at the dummy, hit it in the brain, before I fell into a stance of my own. The switch flicked inside me at his words, and the memory that came with it connected the circuit to the intended action Orochimaru wanted me to do. Stand up. Don't hesitate. You are nothing compared to the enemy. Strike me to kill me. Can't you see that I'm purposely missing your vitals? Toying with you? If this is what he wants, then I'll give him what he wants. You asked for this, don't back out. With all the pain and suffering that comes with it too. Strike me. I lunged. Kyoheim had her head resting on both hands as she watched her son get brutally beaten by the little girl. Swift and light-looking strikes that should break her little hands against Orochimaru's naturally strong body, but instead pushed him back painfully with precise hits to the most tender parts of the body. Where the muscles aren't their thickest, where the nerves were closest to the bones, and the obvious weakness in the joints to any close combat fight, Orochimaru lost the moment he enacted whatever anger that simmered in the girl. She doesn't want to fight because I'm not the enemy. The hatchling has sharper talons than we realized. Kageheim hissed softly. Sheathes them like a cat. Yeah, I knew Haruka-chan was strong, her eyes says it all. Kyoheim said. Too mistrustful and always thinking. Some would say that would be suspicious. Ryudo stood next to her with a cup of tea. Sleeper children weren't uncommon in the clan wars. Her golden gaze were still watching the two children still go at it. She's not. The papers you brought back said that she came with a bunch of refugees that had their village raided by bandits about 4 years ago. Her sharp eyes didn't fail to see Orochimaru sporting a limp. You know how Orochi was already so advanced for his age? Walk, talk, and actually started stringing sentences by the time he was about to turn 3? Of course. Ryudo adjusted his glasses. Haruka-chan is smart, but I don't think she's the kind of smart our son is. No, of course she's not. She's a different kind of genius. The feral fear that looked at her wildly, the tense posture to ready to strike at any threatening move, the absolute difficulty to regain that trust. It reminded her of this one other child she met before when she was her son's age. When Konoha was barely built, and the hope of peace made people forgetful of the still real effects of the territory disputes of many clans. The child she met was a little boy, wild and rude, and was thoroughly torn apart by the constant fights between the shinobis. For the civilians, they would constantly hide in fear and pray every day for another day, and like most small villages, some don't make it. He was a victim of one of those fights, and he spat and cursed at her the moment he saw her markings. The anger and rage was clear, and he had the same eyes her mother once had. It was the kind of rage that wasn't quelled until their vengeance was satisfied. Her mother killed her husband's murderer, the boy himself died. Haruka, I think Haruka-chan remembers the attack, of being scared and being weak. She's weird and airheaded, always staring off into space and smiling. Haruka doesn't look at them, always through them. Eyes hazy and glazed over, the way she stares at targets, and the ease of watching her skin a little rabbit with no remorse. What little girl could even think to kill a rabbit? She claims that she didn't like being at the orphanage, didn't say where she was staying though. Stays away from people voluntarily, doesn't like to stand out. And she doesn't like being touched. Tsunade grabbed her twice and she stiffens. Haruka hiding her true skill, she was constantly limiting herself, presenting herself as a girl who has no idea what kind of lifestyle she was headed. Not showing off like all the other kids do, even her son. Mother, how do you make someone fight a friend? Haruka is close to breaking. Breaking was Orochimaru's way of saying opening up. His bad social skills were inherited from his father, unfortunately. But he's trying if seeing that he still keeps her around and not avoid her at every little second. Kyoheim knew he was getting better seeing he brushed off Tsunade and Jiraiya before finally opening up to them. Kyoheim? Sorry, I just think that Haruka-chan grew up too fast. I guess the reason why Orochi like her so much is because she's mature, too mature. She refocused back to the yard. Orochi got his ass beat. Ryudo gave a sharp nod. He won't be complaining about taijutsu anymore. The kind smile almost seemed empty, but the way Haruka's eyes softened and glazed over while she talked to her downed son made her realize that it was a similar expression that her mother made when she was telling her stories. Far away because she wanted to be there, far away because she couldn't escape it. Her own mind wanders to her childhood days, to the first human blood she spilt, and to how the war tore her clan apart. She still remembers her mother's anguished cries on getting a message that her father wasn't coming home. Kyoheim stared at the pair and something hit her just then. She gasped sharply and Ryuto tensed as he shot up in high alert. Ryuto, do you think Orochi likes boys? Her husband choked his tea. What? Look at him. He's friends with 2 pretty girls. And Haruka-chan is smart too, where's the puppy love? Kageheim sighed. Your son is still a hatchling, hardly the age for him to be trying to find a mate. And Orochimaru is focused, I highly doubt that he even cares to be in a relationship. Ryudo quickly followed. Orochi is so pretentious like a girl, always prettying up every day and so high-strung. You're the one who told him to dress and get ready for the day like that, Ryuto said. And we've discussed this before, he's his father. Kyoheim looked at her husband seriously. What kind of a boy do you think he'll like? We have to watch him closely once he hit puberty. It's bad enough that I'll have to scare away any harpies that come, now I'll have to worry about greedy little pigs once they find out Orochi's preference. Ryoto pinched the bridge of his nose and sighed. Haim, please, he's 9. And time flies so fast. I still remember when he would cling to me crying when a storm would come around, or how he would bring little snakes and dead rats and mice to feed them with. Mother! They all turned to a red-faced Orochimaru and a giggling Haruka. The darkening bruises on his arms were forgotten as sheer embarrassment took over because someone outside the family overheard his mother's ramblings when she gets in a mood. He all but glared at his mother before turning to Haruka, who couldn't even look at him. Don't be like that, Orochi. Kyoheim swiftly appeared and picked him up into a hug. I also still remember when you used to call me Mama. Orochimaru was hissing and snarling at this point, but Kyoheim didn't care. Her son was her most precious treasure, and she'll do anything to protect it. The little girl that had a soft, distant smile on her face along with small laughs that seemed sad. She said that she liked me, like a friend I mean. He was happy, the cute little blush at the thought of someone liking him as him rather than being introduced formally to get a foothold to starting some kind of friendship with others. The genuine liking of his person and the ease that he was understood made him rather confused and possessive at the same time. Kids can be the worst human beings to each other. Her son should not be confused in what to do with a friend. I was in the graduating class this year. A full 2 years has gone by, and by whatever magic Kyoheim did, she managed to trick me into taking a test that advanced me into said class, and we were just months away from graduating. Orochimaru, Tsunade, and Jiraiya have been spending their days as a full-fledged genin team doing chores for the past year. A couple of harmless escort missions and a few delivery missions broke up the monotony, but Kyoheim seemed to direct her worry on me when she got frantic. Other than that, it's been good. I don't think Orochimaru has told Tsunade and Jiraiya about our training sessions. I know that they know about them, but I don't think they know goes on during them. They haven't teased or got onto his case about it, so I assumed that he was saving himself the embarrassment, not that I didn't think otherwise. Haruka! What are you doing up there? Get down here! And between the years, Orochimaru has gotten good at tracking me down, with Tsunade nicely convincing me to join in on their antics. Like how Orochimaru wanted me to help him make an explosion tag that exploded confetti and glitter. The little snake summoner was an unrepentant prankster. Vindictive vengeance was a powerful motivator within the 11-year-old, and I wonder how his Jounin sensei handles that. Not well, probably, especially when Jiraiya is constantly lighting that fire. Haruka! Quit your daydreaming and come down here! I finally jumped out of the tree I was in to greet the team. They all shot up like bamboo shoots, and they were very much in their awkward phase of growing up. Jiraiya was embracing it though. He was riding out the beginnings of puberty like a champ. With Tsunade and Jiraiya being a year older than Orochimaru, the snake summoner was filing away every little thing so that he doesn't end up the disaster that is Jiraiya. And avoiding Tsunade like crazy, the poor girl was confused, sad, and in pain from her natural gifts, and Orochimaru was not below using meat shields to save himself. Last time Tsunade was around, I had to console her to not kill Orochimaru after he made a careless comment. Per snake was a purple-spotted snake for a few days regardless. Haruka! You're finally going to meet our sensei. Tsunade hooked my arm and started dragging me. You've put this off long enough. I didn't put it off at all. We've never planned anything like that, in fact. But you've known that we wanted to introduce you. Tsunade frowned. God, everyone I know is socially stupid. Hey! I am not! Jiraiya shouted indignantly. It's just those two. You don't know how to talk without adding some stupid perverted comment. That's some sort of mental deficiency right there. The offended looks on the boys made me laugh. Jiraiya because he was just called stupid, and Orochimaru because his social problem was called a mental deficiency. To be honest, Jiraiya is pretty smart when he's presented with an opportunity to excel hands-on. He's no good with formal, organized education, but he's definitely shining under a sensei that's not overstressed and looking over 20 other kids with access to chakra. I looked up to see a tall figure, brown hair slicked back and a goatee to match. The forehead protector on his bicep told me this was their Jounin instructor. He was pretty handsome, and I can tell why Tsunade's insistence for girl talk about him was needed. Hello, I'm Sarutobi Hiruzen, nice to meet you. I smiled kindly and bowed. Nice to meet you too, Sarutobi-san. I'm Haruka. All 3 of my students talk about you, so it's nice to finally meet the one who provided Orochimaru that explosion tag. Explosion tag? I tilted my head. What explosion tag? The one with the glitter. I thought explosion tags blew stuff up, and why would anyone make a glitter explosion tag? Lying wasn't hard, just give a natural smile and cross my fingers that the other three didn't talk too much about me. I can't believe Orochimaru told his sensei about that. There is no way I'm going to provide him with any more ammunition. You're a pretty good liar. If I could see through Orochimaru's, what makes you think you would be any better? What do you mean? Orochimaru-senpai isn't a liar. Bullshit. Jiraiya pointed. He lies through his teeth and could probably can get away with murder if he used it for evil. When he uses it for evil. The white-haired boy somewhat got over his fear of me. He was still hesitant to approach me because he heard about how Kyoheim has taken a liking to me. He was exercising the utmost caution as he tiptoed around me. It seemed that Orochimaru's mother scared him silly as well. But still, it was getting slightly ridiculous. I stepped back, and as the team fell into their dynamics, they were content and happy. Orochimaru has his snide complaints, but he likes the outcome of his team arrangements. He likes his new sensei. You're not the only student that I took on. Try not to disappoint me. Slow and steady. If you don't know the form, then you might as well break your legs now. You're fine. You're breathing, aren't you? Hopefully, I get a good sensei, someone tolerable at least. Extend my skills and not just go through the motions like at the academy. It's not that I couldn't learn on my own, just that it would be nice for someone with a greater experience to get suggestion and advice from. The Chunin instructors were stunned at the fact that I was much smarter than they realized. The threat that is Kyoheim and her non-lethal poisons was enough to put me in gear when the practical portions came. They couldn't exactly streamline me because of the lack of proper forms and embarrassment for overlooking something like this, so I was put to the graduating class. Much to all the 12 and 13-year-olds' ire. Bullying wasn't a problem, thankfully. Aside from the name-calling and teasing, they stayed away from me. Spars and grades apparently do matter in the kids' society. Jealousy was there, but none of them will ever admit a little girl handed their asses into the ground. None of the Chunins will ever admit that their oversight. Pride was an easy thing to manipulate. I ducked under a rock thrown my way. That wasn't very nice. Stop spacing out then. Orochimaru had another rock in his hand. You need to break out of that bad habit. I dodged the rock, didn't I? I ducked again. Can you please stop, senpai? Not until you start paying attention to your surroundings more seriously. He glared at me. It's no wonder nobody takes you seriously. I shrugged. I don't really care. Hiruzen clapped his hands to get our attention. Now, don't throw rocks at people, Orochimaru-kun. He looked at me. Tell me, Haruka-chan, what kind of skills you specialize in? Taijutsu. I easily said. I've been practicing my footwork for a few years. I don't really have a lot of chakra to be doing ninjutsu like senpai does. Orochimaru snorted, and I shot him a warning glance. There was no need to go spreading information unnecessarily. Just because he's learning that a little too late doesn't mean he should drag me down with him. Show me. Hiruzen looked amused. You may be in the academy still, but that doesn't mean you can't learn something outside of it. My feet shifted. I'd rather not. Nonsense. Don't you want to know what a jounin thinks about your style? Not really, no offense I mean, I said quickly. Tsunade pushed me forward. She's shy, she's really good at stealth, and she also has good aim. Never seen her do taijutsu other than the katas that she does. I frowned at her. Don't give me that look, Orochimaru has more contact with people than you. I'm trying to help you before you turn into some hermit. I turned away and ignored her. Anyways, it was nice meeting Y. A chill washed over and I instantly got out of the way. A thunderous crack and a tremor from the ground. I scrambled up my tree and hugged the trunk, seeing Tsunade smile frighteningly up at me. Her grip on the tree trunk suddenly gave away under her fingers, and the splintering wood cracked and feared welled inside. Just when did Tsunade was able to do that? Haruka-chan, won't you spar with Jiraiya? The cry from the white-haired boy was largely ignored. I laughed nervously, still hugging the tree. Do I have to? Yes, and you better give it your all or I'll use you as my next medical patient. Why yes, ma'am, I squeaked. It happened fast and I was standing nervously in the clearing. Being wrestled and caught did nothing for my nerves. Having attention on me still prickled my nerves. This unknown adult had calculating eyes along that I wouldn't know what he'll do with the information. Hold information close to you, don't even tell us your secrets. The less you give out, the less the enemy will know. Obscurity is everything. Just because we leave statements doesn't mean we're not careful. Haruka. I jolted, making an annoyed sound from Orochimaru. Focus on Jiraiya. Sensei isn't bad, he's harmless like a curious cat. He's smart and catches on fast on the little things. Don't be arrogant and think that you can outsmart a Jounin, he whispered. Well, it wouldn't been a problem if the Chunins were easy to fool, despite their alert status. I'm pretty sure they don't believe that I'm capable to be on the field. I guess the jump between Chunin and Jounin is that great if the difference in perception is great. I yelped when Orochimaru stomped on my foot. Quit being distracted, it's not like you go full out with our spars anyways, he quietly hissed. Don't make my losses for nothing just because you have an audience, and against that fool of all people. Fine if you think so. I swallowed, still feeling his sensei's gaze. Can you tell him to not stare at me like that? It's making me uncomfortable. What exactly is the difference between sensei and I? Orochimaru almost sneered. Come on, Tsunade called out. Enough with your pep talk, just fight already. You better make him battered and bruised as you do to me. Good job in turning him purple, nice to know I was good practice. I blinked as the static overlapped him. I could see the echo of a smirk that Orochimaru could easily adorn on his face. Wild hair that was somehow slicked down calmly, and the sharp eyes that easily spot the smallest details that no one else can make out. The flutter of joy and pride, the need to do better, and the tingling sensation of thinking that I made him proud. My feet shifted in their own to face Jiraiya. The thought of disappointing someone like my brother held tight on me, and Jiraiya was the unfortunate soul to be in the way. It's fine if you don't get it, we could do something else. W8-, you'll only hurt yourself if you. Well shit, good job. There's no way I'll lose to a little girl. The moment he launched himself towards me, my senses blared and I lunged. Orochimaru had a smug air and smirk seeing his teammate get brutalized, the strikes that put him down more times than he likes to admit. The style itself was foreign, and yet he can tell that it had adopted and evolved from other styles he's seen before. The multitude of different styles, jutsus, and other techniques were still being filed from all the residents of Konoha. The different clans that offer and yet still keep close to some of their secrets made it possible for Haruka to probably watch and develop her own style that fitted her. A style that obviously capitalizes on the user's smaller and leaner builds and a sharp eye for weaknesses in the body. Truthfully, he wanted to learn that too. Damn, Jiraiya's getting his ass beat. Hiruzen nodded dumbly. She's much more stronger than she appears to be. She's still in the academy? Haruka hates the attention. Orochimaru scowled. I've noticed that she doesn't like being in populated areas. She disappears as fast as she can before anyone can even begin to chase her down. Tsunade nodded at that. I remember when it took us a week to chase her down. A week. But now Orochi can track her easily. His mom is training her, so I'm sure he's gotten well acquainted with her disappearing acts. He huffed. Mother has taken advantage of the fact that we were both in the same age group and that our differences in skill could benefit us both in the areas we're lacking in. You like her? Tsunade teased. Just admit it, you like her a lot. She waggled her eyebrows. She's too much like my mother for me to even think of her like that. He gave a low growl. Why you insist on nonsense like that is beyond me. Tsunade's face fell in disappointment. You're no fun, I bet you'd get your ass beat by her too. She crossed her arms. Hiruzen grunted. Your friend is good, she moves fast, faster than any other genin I've seen. And her chakra was like a cloak, hide her presence well and easily forgotten because she hides away and stays silent. It seemed like she was only like that when strangers are near. If his students are any indication, he's surprised that out of all of them Orochimaru is the closest to her. Seeing his genius of a student walk up to the nervous girl to calm her down made him look twice. His cold and vindictive student, the one that put practicality and logic above all and scoffs at anything less than his own high-reaching standards, was going out of his way to comfort someone. He didn't even do that with his own teammates. When they all experienced their first kills, he remembered the boy staying silent and lost before that wall between him and the team seemed colder but easily torn down. Orochimaru must hold Haruka in high regard. He certainly does like her much more than them, seeing he was making first initial contact. Even if it did end up with him stomping on the girl's foot, Hiruzen can't put his hopes too high. But his vicious little student cared. He knows he cared before, but seeing his student reach out without a second thought made him smile. This was the closest thing to kindness he's seen from the boy. This was something to be remembered after a year with his team. Hiruzen could see why Orochimaru would give his attention to Haruka. She was sharp and strong, fast and quick-witted if her lying was anything to go by. He can tell she had no problems in dealing with people, but it was being in any sort of intimate, friendly contact she had trouble dealing with. The distant way she greeted and spoke to him, the watching eyes that bore through him like he was the enemy in disguise. Maybe that's why they both get along, too smart for their own good, and Hiruzen has a feeling that Haruka doesn't mind Orochimaru's more concerning habits. He wonders what kind of habits that she has and what emotions she was lacking. It was obvious that she had problems in social interactions as her friend. She also held the same brutality. The glint in her eyes told him that remorse and guilt would be the farthest thing on her mind if the time ever comes to take her first life. It was something that Hiruzen was familiar with, a focused haze that took over a person with the right triggers. A little girl shouldn't have triggers. The sight of the girl zoning out as she sat on top of Jiraiya's prone form made him wonder what happened for her to mature as fast as she did. It made him wonder if the warring times will ever truly be left behind if children were still continuing to see into the future rather than live their childhoods. Maybe that's why Orochimaru was a little difficult to work with. He was his favorite, but the outright exasperation and reluctance to work with and sometimes follow orders was a little concerning. Yes, he completed every task given to him, flawlessly and quickly, but the barrier was still there no matter how much they weathered him down. If Hiruzen was honest, that maturity level was the main cause of disconnect even with him. His student was too smart, the stone-cold, hard logic was hard to refute and often made him feel inadequate despite the fact that he was known as the professor among the ranks. She's doing it again. Orochimaru scowled. She needs to stay focused even after she defeats the enemy. Tsunade rolled her eyes. You're just angry at the fact that she can move like that and not capitalize on it. The pale boy shook his head. She does, even if she doesn't then I would make sure she does, but the problem is her habit in daydreaming. He crossed his arms. It's gotten bad to where she does it in a fight as well. Hiruzen's thoughts came to a halt, and his gut twisted at the thought of a little girl having flashbacks. Well, maybe it's like tunnel vision, like it's her default focus status. It happens in the middle of our conversations. Orochimaru frowned. She stops and just stares into nothing, like how mother and father does, only much more frequently. Mother has been careful about it for some reason, but she won't tell me. I can have a word with your parents if you like, Hiruzen said kindly. Maybe having a third opinion about her habit can help break it. Sharp eyes snapped towards him. There was a possessive feeling that came with them before logic took over instantly. It was sort of adorable, like a defiant child with his favorite toy he doesn't want to share, and even coming to the most reasonable conclusion Hiruzen can tell that Orochimaru doesn't want to comply with it. Fine. It was strange to see the human side of him being shown so obviously was uplifting. It made him happy at the fact that there was a weak spot in Orochimaru's walls. But Haruka was delicate. Why couldn't anything about his student be easy? Play that song. The silence was comforting. After the uproar with Orochimaru's team, this was relaxing. Why don't you take a break? Because this was calming. I'm too restless and this was a break for me. The constant motion may be slow, but the movement was exerting energy and keeping the body busy to sort out my thoughts and nerves. You think too much, brooding will get you nowhere. If you have to fucking think, go think in the training room. I don't feel like getting drop-kicked because you got startled. Sometimes, thinking too long will get you killed. That's why instinct is just as important for us to use. It's painful to learn and you're learning. My body jerked, and I easily grabbed the offending hand. Pushing the attacker into the ground face first was no trouble. It was just who that was face first into the ground that I had a problem with. Orochimaru? I instantly let go. I'm sorry. He lunged, kicked, punched, and I squeaked to dodge away from his attacks. I could see the frustration build, but I was not interested in getting hurt if I can avoid it. His movements became erratic and sloppy while this anger he had built from my lack of retaliation. How are you so strong? Orochimaru demanded. You're better and faster at fighting and grasping chakra for you seems to be easy for you. I've been doing this for longer, and yet I'm still behind. It was and wasn't jealousy that fueled Orochimaru's frustrations. Haruka will admit that she would be the same way if someone came along and was just able to wave their hands and perform better at what she was doing for years. It was unfair and almost mocking. I gave a strained smile. I'm afraid to be weak. I didn't look at him. So weak that I'm completely helpless, unable to do anything when the war was slowly killing everybody off. We'll come back. Don't worry. I learned, but I was never able to help. My eyes glazed over. I'll come back, I promise. It was I hesitated. I don't exactly have a clear goal in mind, just that if I want to survive, I needed to be strong. And I didn't ever want to be left behind again, to watch the backs of everyone fade into the distance, and not come back. I've never been in battle, never even came close to having my life be in danger to where it could have ended in an instant, and I didn't care. A slow death was incomparable to the quick mercies of a fast one. I would have rather died with blood on my hands than in bed like a squandered away princess. But this was a chance for that to not happen, a freedom to where I can command my life without my body's unfortunate restriction from before. A life where I can run, jump, and maybe even fly with this new power, see where I can push my limits and keep going. Without everyone else. Without anyone to run, jump, or maybe even fly with. Nobody to share my happiness with. Haruka! My body jerked and my eyes snapped open. I first saw the sky and then a blurry Orochimaru. I could feel a breeze wash over me before I sat up confused and dizzy. How did I end up on the ground? Orochimaru looked frazzled, furious, and worried as he flustered over me. His hand was previously on my forehead, but now he was in my face. I knew your stupid daydreaming would be harmful to you. I can't believe you fainted in the middle of our conversation. I should have Tsunade look you over, and I'm definitely telling my parents about this. I stared. I never seen him so out of character or say anything that seemed close to being worried for another person. I grabbed his wrist, his skin was cool to the touch, and looked at him strangely. Why do you care? About me? I asked tiredly. I'm more trouble than what you're willing to deal with. I have a lot of baggage that you're annoyed with, and I don't think I'll be able to get rid of it soon. I let go of him. Why do you still care? Orochimaru's lips thinned in thought before shuffling to pull me up. You are infuriating. But Mother said this kind of frustration stems similarly from having a sibling. She explained that since you weren't annoying and actually competent intellectually, I saw you as a broom-mate rather than a companion like Tsunade and Jiraiya. I blinked. A broom-mate? His face visibly reddened. Sibling, a brood is a term that the snakes use to call their young that haven't left their parents yet. It's my job to take care of you since I'm the eldest. It's my job to take care of you since I'm the big brother. Oh. I blushed. Then would you like me to call you Nai-san? Don't get any bright ideas. He hissed. That is what Mother said, not me. I smiled brightly and tugged on his sleeve. Oni-san, do you want to train together more? I can show you my style, and Oni-san can tell me all the things you've been doing on his missions. Stop it! He hissed even louder. Don't call me that. Oni-san, I think you're stronger than me, I said softly. Definitely much more braver too. Orochimaru visibly bit his tongue to stop a derisive comment. Brave isn't the word I'll use. The moron would use brave in substitute of his stupidity. I giggled. Then how about capable? Better, but this doesn't mean anything. Don't do anything that's beneath you. I hope you know I love you, and that is the only reason why I'm letting you do this. Don't worry, Oni-san. I latched onto his arm, making him hiss again. This is our secret. Just you and me. This can be our secret, between Big Bro and my annoying sister. I love you. I rubbed my face against Orochimaru's sleeve, feeling the cool silky kimono. He never pulled away, and the familiar tense muscles that eased into a relaxed state made me hold tighter. The echoing shadows that pulsed through my mind was content with this position, and I wasn't letting go. I miss this. You're insufferable. Kyoheim grinned. I told you they'd be fine. They're so adorable together. I see, but you are aware that her flashbacks will hinder her if they're not dealt with. She's dealing with them fine. I'm pretty sure a lot of her flashbacks aren't anything to do with the battlefield. She mostly gets them when she's meditating with her katas or around other people, mostly Orochimaru though, she said softly. I think there was someone like him to her. Hiruzen watched the two children walk away with arms locked. Even so, your son's concerns are well placed. From Orochimaru's reaction, this is the first time she blacked out. And all the time she's been in a situation that demands her full attention, she has not succumbed herself to whatever memory that popped up. Kyoheim glanced at Hiruzen. In fact, it seems to fuel her drive of the moment, then slow her down. I heard what happened from Orochi. It must have been a sight, right? I've talked to the Hokage about an early advancement for her, but her mental stability is one for concern. Hiruzen crossed his arms. Not that it'll hinder her seeing others have similar problems, just not so young. A smirk adorned on the snake summoner's face. Haruka-chan is harmless, but threaten anything that's hers and she'll turn to face and fight the world that threatens it. Because the fickle nature of humans was the most dangerous thing to her son as of now. Kyoheim knows he'll prevail through everything that's thrown at him, but assurance of his support was vital to ensure that he wasn't alone. Or at least he won't fall alone. Deep within her, Something was telling her that it was important to snatch Haruka up for her son because she won't be there. That's why she almost went as far as adopting the little girl but had to stop herself because Orochimaru was insecure like that. He had a slight inferiority complex, and it wouldn't do any good if he pushed away the one person that'll truly help him. It was a nice surprise in how their relationship developed, the awkward questions and the conclusions that would come up, but this was probably the best she could hope for. Love for another person as a lifelong partner will be out of Orochimaru's grasp for a long time, but family is something he understands very well. Family is something that'll keep him grounded and something he'll protect vehemently. Kyohime feels like she could relax again, like she didn't have to worry about the future as intently anymore. They somehow dodged some sort of exploding kunai, and the knowledge of a secured ally for her dear son was enough for her peace of mind. The war was nearing its end, but it wasn't over. Orochimaru's parents died just before the war came to a conclusion, with Kumo and Konoha having a ceasefire. The funeral was small, but the people that came spoke volumes in how well connected his family was with the Senju. Uzumaki Mido, the Shodame's wife, even came because the Fuyuchi clan was well traveled and revered for their academics. If the Hokage didn't extend his hand first, the tiny clan would have settled in Uzushio. It was a rainy day, and it wasn't stopping anytime soon. The air was heavy, and I could feel the lightning rearing up to strike at the tallest building. Nobody was happy with how the war ended, and the ceasefire was just a way for all opposing parties to lick their wounds and rebuild their resources for the next battle. But the setting didn't deter me from sitting at the gates of Orochimaru's home and waiting for him. My umbrella was long been useless from the angry winds. I was thankful that it was late spring so I wouldn't be freezing my toes and fingers off any time soon. Probably just get a cold. I knew he could sense me, and I also knew he wanted his space, but he was the type that didn't do well alone. The least I could do is let him know that I'm here and will stay here. Even through hours and hours of the pouring rain, I'll wait for him. We were careless. Froze to death. Poisoned. Bled out. I didn't do well alone. Receiving messages like that didn't do well for the mind, and knowing that someone out there was more stronger than the ones you've trained with, who trained you, was terrifying. It was a drive that blinded people, blinded me because I was so afraid. The creeping fear of dying, knowing someone was hunting you down, but only a couple of us were afraid. I'm glad that you're afraid. It means that you'll whine less about the missions, but you're my sister. A little fear won't stop you for a while. They may took one of us, but that was just through pure luck. We took hundreds more, and every one of us will go down happily knowing that. We're still fighting, we're still training. Would you rather go down guns blazing or be a prisoner in their grasps? Even though I called him Big Brother, he would technically be the younger brother, wouldn't he? I had experience that could help him. I'm already passing that experience so he wouldn't flounder around. Just like I was taught so I wouldn't flounder around. It seemed all wasted on me, but if I can help someone else with it, then everything I know is priceless. I can make their time worth something. Play that song, the one he liked the most. Ryuto surprisingly liked the upbeat songs that you would hear on a sunny day by the beach. The relaxing tune that waves would listen to because the quiet, tall, dark-haired man would just sleep halfway into the song. The warmth of the sun was inescapable despite how well he kept his stoic facade. His wife, on the other hand, liked the songs that you could dance slowly to. Like her summons, she would sway her body like a charmed snake that would hypnotize her husband to join her. The hidden elegance that she easily and gracefully exercised with the sedate steps and almost sluggish movements. I would miss them too. The few years that I spent time with them, I will definitely miss them. We'll all miss them, but we won't stop living for them. It would be remiss of me if I didn't help their son like they helped me. His first losses was his entire world. The people that he truly loved and looked toward was gone before he was able to stand on his 2 feet with real confidence. I should be lucky that I died first, but it was cruel to my big brother, wasn't it? Orochimaru's parents must have thought the same thing too, that they helped ended a war so he could live on. That he'll be fine because there were others that can take care and teach him things. I could make sure of that. Everybody here is family, but you're my little sister. If everyone decided to turn their backs on you, then I would turn on them. The world would burn first before you forgive them. I won't let you forgive them. The wrathful promises stayed prominent, but it was a protective force that aimed its fury at the opposition that went against us. The dark anger that always left me in awe and the easy control that I was unconsciously trying to emulate, it was something that I could see in the last snake summoner. A smile made its way to my face thinking that they were two different people, but it was so easy to spot the similarities. It welled a foreign feeling of want that was driven by a selfish need to push Orochimaru into a cozy corner with all his own wants and needs on a silver platter. To entertain him and make him happy, to push him in a direction that'll help him find his answers the fastest. But it wouldn't do him any good if I just gave him shortcuts and not experience life. Maybe that's why my big brother was so willing to let me indulge in dangerous activities while smothering me with all the prickly affection in the world. Why are you still here? I gave a shaky smile. The still form of keeping my body curled to where I was hugging my knees left my body shaking slightly. The dull cold that built from the lack of movement sent a small shiver that I didn't notice until now. The rain was a slight drizzle and I didn't react to the breeze that made my wet skin colder. Remembering, I looked back down to the puddles. Humming, wondering. The light drops still somehow made a significant echoes across the surface. Lamenting. Go away. His voice was a soft anger, like a hissing air tank with too much pressure. The almost unnoticeable crack in his voice and the needling feeling his chakra gave me slid off me because this was expected of him. And ignoring his warning signs was expected of me. The rain isn't going to stop soon, it'll pick up again, so you better go back inside, I said easily. You'll get sick if you don't. You've been out here for hours and you look like a drowned rat. The quick snap sounded. Obviously you're sick yourself if you made such a stupid decision to stay out here, go away. My smile widened a little. I'll be fine, and let me remember a little more. Ryuto-san and Kyoheim-san were special after all. I closed my eyes to remember the eccentric woman and the stoic yet cunning man. Two so very different people that came together and lived happily with each other, and probably died happily with each other too. Both were sent on the last battle against Kumo and said to had gone down fighting back to back. Kyoheim was like the sun with boundless energy, the conniving swordswoman that cut down enemy ranks with her striking attacks. The swift movements that confused the opposition that her snakes took advantage of. Ryuto was the calming raining that surged quickly, and rarely, into a storm. Easy serenity that fell enemies with his ninjutsu. He was what discipline wanted to be and saw through and destroyed deception that came his way. They were like a soft melody together, the fireplace of a log cabin in a blizzard, the warm morning sunlight through the window, the snow blanket across a large field. They were beautiful together. Like the glittering stars. Haruka, why are you still here? Red-eyed and tired, Orochimaru didn't look too good now that I took a closer look at him. His voice lost most of its aggressive edge and I sighed, feeling a little dizzy. I don't do well alone. I looked everywhere but him. I stayed alone before because it was hard to get along with everybody else. It was better because then this wouldn't happen. My eyes went straight up so the raindrops would fall into them. I get attached too easily and it hurts to have it taken away, but they're worth the pain, they all are. Why did we do this? Because we lost? Can we come down? Fuck no. These were precious memories. Even if they end up as a figment of my imagination, they were all I got that were mine. Someday, as I get older, maybe the new ones will start to matter more, but as of right now, my days are spent and will be spent in wading through the once-upon-a-time days that others will see as fiction. I just have to make sure that I don't drown in them and make this current life unbearable. The black and white shadows that came with the static, the ghosting sounds that mimic what strangers and friends and acquaintances make, my heart beating fast as the unfamiliar energy of movement and freedom that seemed boundless and infinite, along with the fear of staying in bed too long. I'll definitely come back. I won't leave you alone, not until you're gone first. I wanted to take advantage of this, a healthy body and a set mind to go with. I'll be insulting their memories if I didn't learn from them. And it would be a shame if I didn't help others like they did with me. Haruka. There was a tug on my shoulder. Hurry and come inside, Mother would have thrown a fit if you got sick. I'll let your lapse in thought slide this once, but I expect better of you. The crack of thunder startled us and Orochimaru gripped my shoulder a little harder at the show of light. My smile turned wry at his nervousness, and gently grabbed his hands to pull myself up. Hey Oniai-san? I looked at him straight on. Can I have a change of clothes too? You're lucky that I tolerate you. You're lucky that I love you. He led me by hand and I was glad that his back was turned so that he didn't see my tears mixing with the rain. I wasn't sure if he knew I was crying or not, but he didn't say anything. It was natural that I didn't either when I felt warm drops when we fell asleep together. I can't believe that you didn't graduate as Kunoichi of the Year. It's not that of a big deal, people will still underestimate me and I can take advantage of that. Your enemy is supposed to underestimate you, not your allies. The leveled gaze and sharp tone didn't hide the exasperation in his voice, but Orochimaru scared and acted as a deterrent of the people around us with his facial expression, so it worked out well for me. I gave him another oblivious smile and waved him off. Don't worry, I'll be fine, and I-san. Seeing as you had my help, you better be more than fine. His lips thinned. I assume that your teams are already been made and known? I shrugged. I'll be on an old genin team. I was the odd one out and the team needed a third member, and having an average fresh genin seemed like a good fit apparently. I don't know why they didn't just stick the top of our class with them though. A knowing gleam appeared in Orochimaru's eyes and I looked at him suspiciously. It's supposedly a start of a new tradition to have the top rookie and Kunoichi together with the dead last of the class. You were probably deemed easy to mold so that the team dynamics would go more smoothly together. At least I know you'll be forced to be competent with the more experienced genin. You're mean. I pouted. Are you still going to hold this over my head? Just ensuring your survival. He clicked his tongue. Your daydreaming is already bad enough. I don't need to hear that you were hurt because you didn't know when to stop holding back. Your taijutsu is something to be feared, not something everyone should brush off as a fluke. You're better at ninjutsu than me, I said easily. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. Alright, both of you need to shut up. Tsunade scowled. We're here to celebrate, not to bicker. Jiraiya huffed. I don't know why we're here, let the two monsters celebrate on their own. They certainly like their own brand of entertainment. Tsunade punched him. Don't be rude. Who likes reading about the body and uses that as a table conversation? I was going to see my breakfast before dinner was about to be served. Just because you can't appreciate science doesn't mean others can't. If I remember right, it was Tsunade that brought up the topic. For her medical shit. You just want to know if you could animate zombies back to life. My lips twitched and let them fall into the familiar routine. The weight of the headband around my neck put an unpleasant taste in my mouth and a well of mild disgust. The thought of being part of a military organization that practically brainwashed young children into serving was slightly invidious, but I chose to wear this collar for now. I just wonder how long this collar will last. The not-so-quiet whispers of the people around us seemed were more than willing to let go of the leash. They're called sheep for a reason, dash. Mindless and easily swayed by fear. A collective mind like ants, only ants won't run away from a fight, so they're sheep. I'm sure if we put a sheep in an anthill, it would be eaten alive. The faraway, almost demented laughter that followed made me want to roll my eyes. The offhand description didn't faze me. Those kinds of conversations were what I find the most interest in. The quirky fascination that Orochimaru had with biology, and his sharp and hurtful remarks were more fun to listen to than the small talk everyone else tries to make. I didn't care for the how do you do's or how have you beens. I didn't care for what went on in others' lives but how they've been, what they were doing with it to make it worthwhile. The haze of security and protection within the walls I'd been living in was putting the people under a spell, making them complacent to the dangers around them. Despite them being lined up to the slaughterhouse, they know that the shepherds and dogs needed to keep a job. They'll just sacrifice the black sheep in the herd to keep that protection. And those black sheep were us. The lone children that were too different to be placed in the evolving, stagnating society. I find it a good thing that Orochimaru had teammates that were forced to get to know him, seeing he was still inexperienced and too naive to simply stop caring about what strangers have to say. He was still a child despite what he may think. The constant, useless chatter was lost to me, but that didn't mean I didn't listen. Just never participated, seeing everybody was more than willing to keep their mouths loose and their ears closed. It made me wonder if humans should have been born with two mouths and one ear. Play that song. A soundless tune filtered in, the sound of rain on chimes, the breeze on wood, and the rocks falling on silken sheets. I tried to hum out the song, capture the melody or at least the chorus. It would be disappointing if I didn't have both ears to use and listen with. You do know that we could be on a mission than celebrating your genin status. I was just wondering if there would ever be a shortage of lamb. I turned my smile to Orochimaru. Livestock in general already has a high maintenance, but sheep are expensive because we want a large number of them. I thought we got over the random conversations with her, Jiraiya whispered. Fleece for clothes and meat to eat, but they're quick to eat out a shepherd to where there's no profit at all. Orochimaru stared at me. Is this your way of saying you want to eat lamb? Didn't you know? The shepherds are quick to pay extra to make those sheep a little poisonous so that predators will get sick and leave them alone. I like beef better, at least I know the cows and bulls will fight back. I giggled at the paling face of Jiraiya and the slight sour grimaces at the rest. We'll go to Akimichi's then, you better be grateful. Thank you, and I-san. His tense form as the whispers started up again made my simmering anger break the surface for the moment before I gently tightened my grip on his arm. poisonous sheep indeed. It's a shame that they can't be considered pests to get rid of. I can't believe that we're stuck doing D ranks like this because of an Academy Fresh girl. Hyuga Hiroshi grumbled. If you have the energy to complain, then move faster, our Jounin-sensei said. That Academy Fresh girl is more efficient in getting the job done faster than both you boys. Haruka-chan isn't complaining either. The Hyuga scowled and angrily pulled at the weeds. Hataki and I shouldn't be doing these kinds of missions at this kind of rate. We should be training and not be playing babysitter for a little girl. You better watch your tongue or else you'll be staying as a genin as your teammates move on. At least Hataki-kun knows to keep his mouth shut. Yuditane Kohara was our Jounin-sensei. She was Hiruzen's old teammate, and she was only stricter on the boys because they seemed to resent us. The both of them were a team before half of them were killed, and seeing as we were intruding in their dynamics. And that Hyuga was kind of sexist. That'll be fixed soon enough. I was just glad that Tsukumo took to silently glowering like his summons, then start barking up a storm. He seemed level-headed to prioritize properly. Our introductions to each other were extremely hostile, and it was fun watching. They will all learn to work with each other eventually, so I can easily sit back and watch the drama unfold. It's a good sideshow to pass time when painting fences, picking weeds, and helping other menial chores that people are too lazy to do themselves. And we haven't even touched the actual training portion as a team. It's already been a week and Orochimaru was about to throw a fit for me if I didn't explain the situation. The teenage was all huffy, and that of course the mud is halting their progression. And the Hyugas are so haughty that they restrict themselves when they have such a wonderful tool. If you're so adamant on training, then fine. Kohara-sensei narrowed her eyes. After you're done, we'll have a sparring match between all three of you. It'll give you an idea on where you stand with each other, and I expect you all to go full out. I hummed and nodded when she looked at me pointedly when she said the last part. I didn't expect her to not know about my abilities when Hiruzen was her old friend, when Orochimaru was insistent on me in showing off and crushing all opposition. Really, it's like they're completely forgetting that shinobi aren't meant to be flashy. Finally, and hopefully you'll see it was a mistake to let that girl in our team. Hyuga sneered. She doesn't even look like she could even take a hit. Kohara-sensei narrowed her eyes. This is your last warning before I recommend for you to go back to the academy. You've obviously forgotten the important part of being in a team. As a team, we have to depend on each other because it's us against them. We're all strong, but we all will go down if we don't work together. We hated each other, but we respect each other enough to know that we got each other's backs. I was barely starting this career as an assassin for hire, and it wouldn't do good for these children to continue to look down on me. Back at the academy, everyone was naive and cruelly oblivious to the workings of the world, but these two had at least 3 years on the field to know better to underestimate any enemy. They know what it's like to lose their comrades, and yet they still had the gall to act like children. Especially the Hyuga. We fought, I won of course, and nothing says respect like a good punch in the face. And I'll do just that. The Hyugas were taijutsu experts too, so he should be able to take it. He was better than I thought, but I still punched him in the face with a force that would made Tsunade proud. The shocked look on Hiroshi's face said it all before looking angry once more. Don't get cocky just because you got one good hit in. If you stop dodging and come at me like a real ninja, then I would have won by now. I nodded along with his words. Sure. It was easy despite the fact that the danger level of getting hit by his strikes were tripled depending on which part of my body he hit, if he hit anyways. His form was slow compared to Orochimaru's snake style, and his form was too rigid, making it easily predictable. Jiraiya fights better than this. At least the white-haired boy was creative and more than willing to bend the rules to its limits to try and surprise his opponents. His newfound love in seals made things interesting, especially when he and Orochimaru get into prank wars. He was a fun person to be around after he forgets he's terrified of me. I didn't really like this team, but I'll make it work. A swift reverse kick and I was easily on top of the Hyuga with my hand gripping his hair to further shove the arrogant boy face first into the dirt. With my other hand restraining his own and my knee digging painfully into his back, this spar was over. Good job, Haruka-chan. You were still holding back though. Kohara-sensei frowned. I shrugged before getting up. I wanted to know where we stood. Hyuga-san is good. I turned to the wide-eyed Hataki. What did you think, Hataki-san? You're supposed to be average. Hyuga was right under me in class. The academy wasn't really interesting, and why work so hard in a place that doesn't really care? I shrugged again. I found more interesting things and people that trained me. How? The Hyuga jumped up in anger. I've been training since I've been 4. A no-name, civilian girl shouldn't be able to beat me. The scrapes and dirt that littered his face did little to add on to the intimidating image he was trying to communicate. The smile on my face seemed to make him angrier, and I wanted to laugh. "I've been training too. It may not be like yours, but training is training," I said. "Just because you've been training hard doesn't mean others haven't. I'm part of the Hyuga clan, a clan that's famous for its Byakugan and Taijutsu style, and yet you beat me," he yelled. "I don't understand how." "It only means that you need to train harder." Koharu-sensei narrowed her eyes. "That you need to expand your repertoire as a shinobi, or else you will be left behind to the ever-evolving world around you. Haruka-chan wasn't put on this team without reason, but you both dismissed her as a weak girl, someone just to fill in the team. It's very unfortunate at what happened to you two, but that doesn't mean your brain functions should be halted like with you two. Since you both failed to even realize it even after the generous amount of time I gave you, we're all going to go back to the basics to reteach what a team should be. If anything, you should be ashamed for holding back your newest teammate in advancing." The older woman lectured before turning her finger to me. "And you need to respect your teammates by being serious when training together like this. You all can't grow if you don't give it your all. Assholes. Assholes everywhere. And you can't escape them." My smile widened and clenched my fists. I like to think I was merely exercising one of the basic rules and properly communicating with others. I believe I was simply treating them equally and more. Hitaki choked as I unconsciously let my irritation slip. I was patient, and we eventually came to an understanding. I looked at the paling Hyuga. A decent start for strangers, if I do say so myself. First step in dealing with assholes is to assert your dominance. Second step is to keep it. I can now see why Orochimaru was more fed up with his team, but I wonder if it'll get to the point where it would develop into an exasperating fondness like he has. The simmering anger from the pure petulance was annoying, but I wasn't exhausted of my patience yet, and a couple of children will not be the one to make me lose it. They will know when I'm upset though. I can't exactly go entirely without an outlet after all. But remember, assholes are still sheep. They tend to flock when frightened, and the shepherds don't need to be alerted. Koharu pursed her lips and thought of her new team, the team that should have been a force to reckon with until it was torn to pieces by an IWA force that was far too much even for an experienced genin team. A genin team that should have been going to Chunin this year, and a team that she's been tasked with to ensure that they were at least ready for it this year. After a shit week from the overly aggressive boys and the creepy, non-reactive, smiley girl, she can say that once they learn how to work together, they'll have no problems with the exams. If they learn how to work as a team. The beatdown the little girl gave the boys was surprising. Koharu was told beforehand that she was much better than what the academy reported. Hiruzen personally told her that Haruka will be hard to work with, and that he still struggles to even understand the girl that his team was so fascinated with. But he knows for sure that she was on the same level as them. But the impromptu sparring session revealed a lot about the girl though, and it revealed that she held on to grudges far more closely than an Uchiha. The twisting chakra in the air, the sudden shortage of oxygen, and the intensity of her eyes, and just what she thought of treating others just as she was being treated with. That killing intent didn't emit the immediate danger to make a person run away, but it was more like an oppressive warning, a peak of the danger that was far greater than what was shown, a flash of superiority to let others know just who was stronger but lenient enough to let them take lead. It didn't bother her, but what did bother her was a fresh genin being able to send enough Ki to send her other charges paling. Hilarious and cute, but still concerning seeing it wasn't an unconscious result. Haruka knew her words would drive home, and the pleasant smile on her face wasn't exactly nice. Koharu would turn the girl into the perfect kunoichi. The potential the girl had was just within her grasp to mold, but the only problem would be the obvious rebellion towards her person when she tried to scold her. The flash and lingering mistrust, and the steely look that gave away everything despite her flowery words, she couldn't refute without causing further damage to the fragile tether that was an already damaged team from the start. What do you think about your new team? They'll barely get their teamwork down before the coming Chunin exams, Koharu said honestly. Individually, and if the Hyuga controls that anger of his, they all qualify to be low-level Chunins, with Ataki being a mid-level one. But with the recent events of their dynamics, I'm not sure if it's a good or bad thing, sensei. Tobirama nodded. Usually, I would have never put an academy, fresh genin with a team like that, but Hiruzen's insight wasn't something to ignore. It helps that he's been informing me of her progress when she trained with his team. I have no doubt that your team will come together if she's able to interact with Hiruzen's mess of a team. But truthfully, it unnerved the Hokage that a child was willing to sabotage their own progress and set themselves up for failure. Make themselves invisible when children needed to be recognized early on in order to capitalize on their natural talents so that they can be invisible against the enemy. Hijaren reported that she had trust issues, major trust issues that took tentative care and careful handling, or else the fragile relationship crumbles. His old student was still puzzled in why Orochimaru had such a strong bond with the girl. Tobirama still remembers the odd little girl at the Fuyuchi's funeral, and wondered what caught his late friend's attention with her. Kyoheim's whirlwind visits and Ryuto's ability to calm that walking storm were more prominent in his mind rather than the offhand comments he should have really listened to. There was a lot of things he should have listened to, but there was so much to keep his ears open for that information was just stored uselessly. Too much information that became useless because it was too late to use. One of his many regrets. Tobirama sighed internally before hardening his nerves. Koharu, don't wait for them to make nice, put them in a situation where they have to work with each other. It's unfortunate in what happened to the previous members of the team, but that's just the first of many ambushes and supposed accidents that'll happen. This armistice we're in, this is just us and all the other forces out there to rest before starting up the war again. He watched Koharu's lips twitch to grimace. Your team was expected to lead the next war, a full assault team that could overpower the enemy if need be, but now the best we can do is see if we can salvage the broken pieces of what could have been Konoha's assurance in the coming conflict. He turned to the panoramic view of the ever-growing village. Along with Hiruzen's, you have the next generation's best. You need to make sure that they're at their best and pull out their potential at their maximum, no matter what kind of disagreements they have. Of course, Hokage-sama, Koharu said. I will. Despite the conviction in her voice, he won't know until he meets the team as a whole. He's met the Hataki and the Hyuga, but in the end the whole flow of the team will have changed and it won't function like before. And watching out for Orochimaru's friend was the least he could do for his late ones. Heaven knows the kid needs more of those. I still don't understand why you don't go all out. Orochimaru grumbled into his dinner. You don't need to hold back against someone like that unruly Hyuga or that stupid mutt. I giggled. I don't need to. Why spend all that energy all at once when I could use it somewhere else? That's not what I meant. You're worrying too much, and I-san. I'm still training on my own time, so it's not like I'm not improving. That's not what I meant either. The glowering eyes that bore into me before giving an exasperating breath, I easily waved my spoon before going back to my own meal. It wasn't really an uncommon occurrence for us to sit down and eat together once the day was done. The other boy liked to vent out his frustrations, decompress at the dinner table before relaxing together at the couch. He liked to coil between the cushions, halfway bury himself as if he was burrowing in between them. Of course, he can't relax completely without a book in hand, so he always had an odd book at the side table. Always stocked up in my apartment as well, with something at a higher reading level than what Jiraiya can bear to stand. Usually something under the scientific topics ranging from his favorite biology topics to chemistry. Our little study sessions together bring out the best in him, or at least what I think anyways. I've been told to discourage him from delving too deep, but even if what they're implying is true, I don't think that they understand that I couldn't care less. I wasn't really all that concerned as long as nobody undeserving got hurt. I didn't understand why they were so concerned about his expanding curiosities when everybody that's chunin and above have done far messier. Probably far worse. Nissan, I got more pillows and blankets for us, it's getting cold out so we need to warm up. I snuggled next to him. Are you warm enough? You don't need to spend your money on things like this. Orochimaru scrunched up his nose. I have plenty at the house. But they're not here and I like being comfortable. I grinned widely. It's not like I'm using the money for anything else, I'm pretty self-efficient, I think. I'm only really paying the bills. Regardless, you could be saving your money for emergencies or such. My arm easily hooked his and I laughed at him. Don't worry, I have contingency plans for a lot of things, so let me deal with whatever crisis that comes my way. I don't want to know. The easy, chilling air made the cushions that more desirable. The way Orochimaru wrestled the blankets over us meant that he's willing to put up having his arm hostage. His resignation was almost heartfelt, but I knew that it was more of taking advantage of my body heat and conducting it under the covers. It was fine though, this is one of the few moments that he lets me cuddle without throwing a small fit. Like any other snake, they don't like being handled too often. I had to kill more bandits on my mission. And now I see the reason why he was so docile at the contact. Oh. I grasped his hand. Does it bother you? No, but that seems to bother the others. He sunk deeper into the couch. I don't understand why though. I hummed softly. It's that line of morals and empathy rearing its head, the same line that the others are having a hard time crossing. As long as you acknowledge that line is there, everyone will get over it eventually. The words came easily. You may see just a line, but everyone else sees what it represents and the consequences that can happen if crossed. Orochimaru huffed. That doesn't explain why Tsunade and Jiraiya are nervous around me. Sensei seemed unnerved as well. They'll get over it. There are bigger things to worry about after all. Another gone, another name added. There were so many things that were more pertinent than worrying over little things such as morals and having a conscience. The terror of watching someone go and not come back was a fear that took root and settled quite comfortably to where it hurt to have anyone other than Orochimaru. Because at least I know he'll survive in this violent world. His lack of empathy wasn't a problem compared to the fact that he has the ability to live. And despite what others think, Orochimaru is far more human than they give him credit for. I could see a start of a revolution with his mind, a drastic step for this developing village that could put the word innovation at its greatest or pave another tragedy into Konoha's budding history. Such is the life towards greatness. Does it bother you? Nissan, if I had the choice between you and some bandit, ninja, or even some other thoughtless degenerate out on the field, well, it's not a hard choice at all. I gave him an easy grin. I'll even do it with a smile. And don't forget to look into the enemy's eyes, give them a good look before you move on to the next. You haven't even killed anyone yet. Orochimaru scoffed. What do you know? I know how to kill someone with my bare hands. Do you? Why do you hold back? Now I know why Orochimaru gets all huffy when he has his team bonding moments. It was like having a layer of syrup on my skin, and the only method of cleaning it off available was a hand towel. This was uncomfortable. A question like that was hard to answer, but quite honestly, aside from not really wanting to cause permanent damage, I don't really respect them. Hyuga may have gotten marginally better in handling his attitude, and Hatake may have stepped aside to let me part of his team, but they never stopped their glowering or scathing, under-the-breath comments. No matter how silent they think they are, it's not hard to listen. And Koharu herself was much too controlling, even if it's her job to be. It made me scrunch up my nose at how conservative she is, the gender roles, techniques, and majority of what we do seem to have standards, and it was severely off-putting in trying to respect her as a fellow soldier, let alone as our teacher. Why should I conform to her saban style? Why should I use flowers to send messages? Why should I care? The bubbling emotions under my skin were crawling. The tension within my stretched thinner and thinner at the progressing weeks of this abrasion of a woman that was far more harmful than good. She was not a leader that she thinks she is. Her neglect was obvious when the boys send the same glowers to her. The sinking twitch of self-control took hold, and a calming breath to expel the quiet anger that didn't quite leave me completely. My hands wanted to dig its nails into my palms and my breath nearly shuddered, but I was better than this. I was better than her. Yudetane-sensei, what else am I good at besides taijutsu? I mused to her. What's my favorite dish and my favorite animal? The confusion was prominent on all three of them. I know lots of things. I know the various affairs between civilians and shinobi alike, and I know secrets that could make or break businesses down in the markets. I also know the best places to camp as well, what game is available, and what other predators that are out and about. Do you know what the old lady that lives near the southernmost river thinks of us? Or what kind of meat the butcher down in the eastern district is selling? And Scandalous doesn't even quite cover out what the civilians think when it comes to simple matters. They tend to exaggerate information to a hilarious degree, no matter how damaging it is to the person on the receiving end. I know a lot of things, Yudetane-sensei. It must be nice to have the optimism like you have. You live in a much happier world than I do. The Jounin's lips slight puckered as her teeth visible bit the insides of her mouth, and despite the action, her frown was visible. My fellow genin didn't hold back on their confusion and distaste, partially at their lack of ability to understand what I said, but Koharu seemed to at least grasp my point. You can't expect us to understand if you aren't willing to share, Haruka-chan. And how can we succeed if our sensei isn't willing to listen? Hataki's ears seemed to perk up. Tell me, what do you know about us? Our problems and our strengths? I can tell you that Hatake excels in kenjutsu, more so than the ninjutsu specialist that you want him to be. I can tell you Hyuga has an injury he's hiding, and yet you still push him into activities despite the fact that you know something is wrong. My teeth showed to freeze the smile that wanted to sneer. And I can tell you I absolutely hate being the kunoichi you're determined that I have to be. I don't respect you as a mentor. We don't respect you as our mentor. Laid out thick and painful, just like how subtle she was. Excuse me? I am your Jounin sensei, Koharu said darkly. I will not tolerate disrespect. I'll respect you rank as you've earned it, sensei, I said easily. But that doesn't mean you're good at teaching. I understand that as a shinobi there will be missions that I'll have a distaste for, but that doesn't mean there aren't plenty of ways for me to manipulate someone, slit a throat, and disappear into thin air. My hand waved lazily. I rather like the thought of wearing a bell. What? Hyuga looked even more perplexed. Hataki shifted uncomfortably. She needs one. Sometimes I can't even smell her. I beamed at the white-haired boy. Thank you, I like the thought of being in the front lines, you know? The pleasant sound of a bell would be a good change, don't you think? Haruka. Koharu's voice pierced. You can get into severe trouble for insubordination. I think that a little teenage rebellion is far more better outcome than us genin dying because of poor instruction. The jounin looked like she was struck. One of us might even die while painting fences because his leg injury prevented him from moving out of the way for a falling paint bucket. Wait, that was you? And how do you even know that I'm hurt? My eyes still focused on our jounin sensei. But the point is, I'm not a rags to riches fairy tale, and they're not a tragedy that has been told too many times. And you are certainly not the playwright that you think you are, so stop with this weird favoritism of me and stop telling the boys to get over their frustrations. You certainly don't like being told you're a pert teacher by a child. What makes you think we like a complete stranger telling us they know better? Fickleness does not discriminate, and neither do words and their actions. His father told him that his grandfather gave up the samurai's way of life for a shinobi's one because the family was far more important than a greedy lord's. Finding the wolf contract simply cemented the unspoken command that demanded loyalty to the pack, and as the third generation in the family to hold and sign the contract, a lot of his senses and instincts were haywired at what happened to his team. Torn apart and asundered, not to mention that what was left was being invaded and picked at by a couple of birds. It made him bristle in anger, but he knew he couldn't do a thing. Hataki Sakuma waited, though, to pounce at the opportunity to scare the birds away or find a new territory once available. But one of the birds wasn't scavenging for the scraps, and just hummed songs when they meet up, and turned out to have bigger talons and a sharper beak to match. The surprising strength that hid behind such a fragile-looking build, and the stabbing words made him cringe when she showed what she thought about their animosity. And it was humbling and embarrassing that it was the same little bird that actually was willing to speak against their sensei for them. The academy was almost as old as the village. It was one of the starting foundations that actually kept the shinobi council from falling apart. The active talks of the future led majority of the older shinobi be concerned in their children's future, and it was the first things to be implemented and discussed if the village continues as the leading militarized force of the elemental nations. A set standard was hard to implement, with many of the clans suggesting and dipping their hands into the academy affairs. It was a mess, but it was getting better. Sakumo can't really point out the things that the Chunin instructors did that made his years stand out. The academy as of right now just picks out the strongest of the batch and let the rest that couldn't come up to par disappear into the civilian side. Or be in the way of fire. Nothing to cultivate, and let children do what they do the best. The wolf summoner vaguely remembers how Haruka was primed to get kicked out. Expectations weren't met, and yet Sakumo hears his father complaining about how the academy issue will never be fixed because of her unexpected potential that the instructors overlooked. That she hid away and became a ghost with the halls. If he were to be honest, his new jounin sensei seemed like a glorified Chunin instructors from back in the academy. Too structured and always expecting them to perform to what the papers say. He misses his old jounin instructor. But he can see himself working with Haruka, though. She was a little bird that went about her life and let him pace and brood the few weeks they were lumped together. Their sensei's impatience was what was aggravating him and Hiroshi in the first place. Haruka was just an easier target to aim their distaste at. Naive was the word he wanted to use. But obviously that's no the case if she could use her words as if their positions were reversed. Like the morning birds that would distract people with their songs before those people were running into poles and walls and into others. He didn't really understood half the conversation, but the way the older female looked put off was kind of satisfying. Hey, Hiroshi. What? Do you think that Haruka-chan is willing to meet up with us during our own training sessions? The Hyuga scrunched up his face. You want her to train with us? Why? Because then it'll be us against Sensei. Sakumo grinned. That team bonding session, Haruka-chan won that battle. I want that on our side. Because the song the birds sang turned a sharp turn that made the words twist like a genjutsu. The conversation went horribly as usual, but this time instead of ambiguous words that left him ponder for days shifted into a blunt club that threatened failure to the jounin sensei. Permanent failure that nobody could try to succeed again. A permanent imprint that still burned into his own consciousness. The thoughtful look crossed the dark-haired boy before nodding in the same conclusion. I guess, but she doesn't really like us. You mean you don't like her? Sakumo snorted. She's going to be a frontliner, that is a stealth specialist, a scout, a spy, an assassination. Anything that requires a quiet, close and personal confrontation, and she has the ability to do just that. He looked at the Hyuga seriously. We both agree that we're not getting anywhere being stuck in Konoha, but I don't think Tabashi-sensei or Keiko-chan would be very happy at us if we stay genin after everything. Hiroshi huffed and looked away. Haruka is suspicious. I noticed that you were injured too, you know. Shut up, you're talking to that creepy girl if you're going to go through with this. That's fine, we meet up every day. I have to be trying to not talk to her if I can't get a hold of her. Hyuga nodded. I guess. Orochimaru raised an eyebrow, seeing a ragged-looking Tsukumo stepping into the training ground his team was currently using. The snide comment was at the tip of his tongue, but Jiraiya noticed first and bounded happily towards his friend. Tsukumo, what are you doing here? Jiraiya asked excitedly. Is the rest of your team coming too? Tsukumo just laughed nervously, scratching his cheek. Actually, I wanted to ask Orochimaru-san something. What? Jiraiya scowled and sent a glower towards his teammate. Why do you want to talk to him of people? Well, I wanted to ask about Haruka-chan. Why do you want to talk about creepy Haruka? Orochimaru sneered, pushing Jiraiya to the side as he walked over. And why should I give you any kind of information on her, mutt? Your team's failing dynamics are certainly not her fault. Tsukumo winced at the hiss before putting up his hands in surrender. I know we're not the closest of friends. We're not friends at all, you arrogant mutt. But I really need to talk to Haruka-chan. And I'm certainly sure that Haruka and yourself aren't close enough for you to refer her as such, Hataki. This is the first time he's encroaching on another person's territory. This is what his father probably feels when he goes to those council meetings. Awkward and uncomfortable doesn't describe how he feels under the defensive snake's gaze. He was only a year older, but that year difference was enough, and he was regretting not socializing with his younger peer more. Orochimaru looks like he wants to use him as that training post with the way he was gripping that kunai. Look, Haruka-chan is my teammate, and I want to make amends with how we were acting, and as her packmate I'm sure you would have a better idea on where she spends her time, because I honestly can't find her after our training sessions are over. Tsukumo said the last part a little too quickly. Orochimaru just scoffed. You severely underestimate her. Did you seriously spend the entire month and a half sulking? I'm starting to believe Haruka when she says I'm too optimistic. I had thought better of you. Tsunade finally came over, rolling her eyes before pushing Orochimaru to the side. Look, if you want to find Haruka-chan, you're just going to get better at tracking. Now that you riled up the big brother, the little sister is going to be alerted, and you're just going to have to play that game of hide and seek. But I can't even sense her. Tsukumo looked frazzled. I mean, I do, but I can't find her, and it's like her scent just gets washed away by some rain shower that I missed. And you're just going to have to suffer and get back into Haruka-chan's good graces. Tsunade snorted at Tsukumo's fallen expression. If it makes you feel better, we had to the same thing in tracking her down, and we got good at it after she deemed us worthy of approaching. Honestly, I thought I could get to her before Orochi's holier-than-thou attitude could infect her. Jiraiya made a noise at the back of his throat. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. It's already bad enough in Snake Bastard, but creepy Haruka as herself. And here I thought you've gotten over your nonsensical fear of her. Orochimaru cut him off. You truly are pathetic. Who you're calling pathetic, you Snake Bastard? You and the mutt, who else? Tsunade shook her head as they went at it again before turning back to Tsukumo. Look, Haruka-chan is like a nicer version of Orochimaru. She jerked her thumb back at the snake summoner that threw the kunai in his hand. But nicer doesn't mean anything. In fact, I would rather deal with Orochimaru when he gets into one of his moods and let her deal with it than be at the end of her moods. I don't need to see what kind of a disaster that can happen when she's angered because Orochimaru avoids upsetting her. She's that kind of female? Tsukumo grimly remembers his father's talks with him in dealing with the more dangerous females. Wait, but she's like 10, isn't she? Tsunade snorted and barked out a laugh. Haven't you heard of early bloomers? But I'm not talking about that. Haruka-chan can be evil. She jabbed at the Hataki's chest with her finger. She's vindictive, she holds grudges like no other, and that holier-than-thou attitude she hides behind her smiles isn't just hot air. Like our resident nerd, without his know-it-all attitude, she just seems to know a lot of things that she shouldn't know. Tsukumo thought back to the startling conversation that seemed to mute the whole team for the past week. Words that seemed to vice over the individuals that were practically lectured, even if he didn't understand why some of it was even said. He knows for sure that his kenjutsu was never spoken within the other female's ears though. How Haruka knew was a little baffling, but he reasoned that it wasn't exactly a secret that his family was a former samurai clan. It still doesn't explain how she found out he was better at wielding a sword than performing jutsus. I had a few years of getting to know Haruka-chan, and I can tell you now that it was damn harder to get her to go out with us than it was with Orochimaru. Tsunade narrowed her eyes. I'm doing this as a favor to her to get your team working because I don't want her to be stuck as genin when she could be with us going to the Chunin exams with us. Don't mess up the chance that she's given to you guys. Sure. Sakumo shifted nervously. So we'll have to wait it out. Tell your Hyuga friend if he insults Haruka-chan any further, I'm coming after him. It's not her fault that mission happened to you guys, and it's certainly not her fault that you all were shoved together with a shitty sensei. Tsunade growled. You're lucky that this is happening before you all celebrated your 2-month mark as a team. Sakumo just nodded because he doesn't want to know what would happen after that 2-month mark. The not-so-subtle slitted gaze that glowed behind Tsunade gave him all the imagination of what could have happened. Apparently pack mentality wasn't exclusive to canines and those alike after all. At a distance, Hiruzen prayed for Koharu while cherishing the moment as he listened in on the genins. He told Koharu of Haruka's trust issues and told her to simply ease herself and then start demanding results as she usually does. Fast results was the main reason that the Hokage chose her to lead the team, but teaching was a completely different ball game now than it was back when the village first established itself. Clan disputes were settling. Everyone was getting comfortable at the idea that everyone is sharing the same land under one banner that this generation of shinobi only knows. The warring era still showed, but it was becoming history, and it was rather unfortunate that some of the older generations are still stuck in it. Hiruzen was rather sad that it was true with his own genin team, but he looks to his students and smiles at the fact that at least he can make way for the future. He looked towards at Koharu's student and is hopeful for the future that was taking action for change. Then remembers why Sakumo came and comes back pitying his old teammate. You should summon me more, little viper. Kageheim hissed displeased. You and the little rattler have grown again since the last time I was here. Orochimaru huffed. I've been busy and Haruka is on another team. Excuses? Have you been eating well? You're both thin. How can you both expect to constrict to anything if you both are so small? Kageheim ignored Orochimaru. My own hatchling will be bigger than both of you at the rate you're growing. The large constrictor poked and prodded Orochimaru before doing the same with me. She was huffing before settling between the cushions where we're sitting and coiled her large body in a sort of hug. I happily curled into the large body and ensuring Orochimaru didn't try to wriggle out of this by leaning my body weight on him. His irritated grunt did nothing to deter me. You're insufferable. I'm warm. He rolled his eyes. So what exactly are you going to do with your team? The mutt came by trying to find you. Don't worry, you can help if you want though. I'm content to watch the disaster you'll bring at the front door. The fact that the mutt was willing to come to me of all people is telling of your antics. Orochimaru said with a frown. Do not try to involve me. Kageheim hissed amused. But we will be delighted to hear the end results of your project. Just because the little viper isn't interested in it doesn't mean he's not curious. I giggled when Orochimaru shot a glare at the snake. Of course, and Aisen is always sharing stories of his team. Those are great inspirations on what I can do to my own. Never mind those. Orochimaru huffed. I heard that you were going on your first C rank. I am? Your sensei met up with mine right after Hataki came. Your recent expression of defiance is concerning apparently. He sighed. Haruka, why are you doing this to yourself? I easily buried my face into his side and let a smile take over. We don't fight because we're mad, we're seriously bored. Dude, you know we're closer than family if we can stare at each other for a period of time and have a full conversation about the mysteries of the universe without words. I was staring at your zit and was wondering when you were going to pop it. Did you know that if there was a race between a turtle and a rabbit, the turtle would win? My hands gripped against Orochimaru's shirt. Yuditane-sensei is too much in a rush to see all the little traps that'll get her stuck along the path, and she'll drag us along, and suddenly we might pay for her mistakes. They say that the faster you run, the faster you're done. It's nice on paper, but if you alert every enemy along the way, then it's by the grace of whatever up there that's keeping you alive. Slow and steady, run when ready. I was eager, of course. I looked forward to doing real missions and anticipate the blood, but I would also very much stay alive as well. I would also like to ensure the survival of my not-so-bratty teammates. As people that I'll be regularly working with for my Genin and Chunin years, I would like to keep a consistency that has grown on me than have too many people having inquiries about me. Having Orochimaru like this was perfect because I know that he'll hoard our moments closely for the simple reason that he did not like people. Sure, his vain nature and pride demands recognition and have his ego stroked, but hopefully by the end of puberty his need for that will go by. Don't tell me you're asleep. Let the little rattler have her rest. Be glad that you have most of her warmth. This coming winter does not seem kind. Orochimaru huffed. I don't understand why she just doesn't live at the compound. It would cost her less. Did you offer? You know that the little rattler has wings instead of fangs. If you don't clarify what you want, she'll be cloud surfing all day. I shouldn't have to. The thing about birds is that they don't care. They certainly know what you want, but with the ability to fly and watch the proceedings, they're far more content to watch. Kageheim hissed and huffed at the same time. It is why your brewmate is the way she is. A bird's field of view and range are phenomenal and gets trapped listening and watching us ground dwellers. Orochimaru shifted in confusion. That doesn't make any sense. Birds often don't, but be glad we got her as a hatchling. The fact that she saw something she didn't like and is acting to change it means that she won't develop that awful self-absorbed, vain attitudes majority of them has. Kageheim complained. You think that the flightless ones would be more humble, but they just show off their feathers as if they're better than our scales. I silently laughed at the two. This is all I need and I'll see them through. Even if it meant crushing others beneath my foot, I'll see this life as a long one, and if not, it'll definitely won't be because of some conservative kunoichi that has the emotional capacity of an amateur politician. Honestly, what kind of a shinobi gets stunned by the words of a genin? What song is that? Sakumo seemed intrigued at the upbeat, slurring humming I was making. It's a song that makes the cats twist and jive. I walked easily to the beat. We were on a C-rank mission, my first C-rank mission, and it was a delivery mission, and it was duller than the academy training kunais that barely stuck into the targets. But it was my first time going out of the village, and we were going into the land of the wave before passing on the scroll to an Yazushio diplomat that Koharu was going to discuss with, leaving us to explore the foreign village. It's so exciting. You seemed happy. Anything good happen? Nisan is adorable when he thinks he's hiding something. I smiled widely at Sakumo. Sakumo grimaced. Adorable? She's a bit loose in the head, Hiroshi grunted when Sakumo elbowed him in the gut. What? It's true. Keep focus. The boys were startled by Koharu's commanding voice. We're on a mission, not a vacation. Both Hiroshi and Sakumo glowered at our sensei, both sticking close to me. That got me confused before I giggled at this little rebellion I made. The look of apprehension from the Jounin and the surprising defiance from the two clan kids were a nice surprise. We haven't gotten into serious trouble by our continued defiance yet. I wonder how long it'll take for Koharu to absolutely hate us. She obviously doesn't care for us like Orochimaru's sensei. Build a foundation to where we all can stand on rather than force us to climb a mountain and expect us to reach the top from different starting points. Koharu only saw the goal and not the problem getting there, but I somehow was able to get them to climb down to my level. Hey, do you both want to hear the story about a race between the rabbit and the turtle? They're willing to learn, and I'm more than willing to teach. Maybe our dear instructor will learn something as well. This mission turned out more fun than I realized. Thank very much, Yuditane-san. I must say, our relations with Konoha have proven beneficial for the past 2 decades. Is there anything else the Hokage wanted out of the way? Uzumaki Amiko's lips curled up pleasantly. No, Uzumaki-san. Koharu internal sighed in relief. I believe that it for now. The sudden coy look on the elegant redhead graced her face. Are training genins that hard these days? Koharu pursed her lips. That's not a topic for discussion. Oh? But your little sensor is absolutely adorable. She responds to my chakra as if I was the ocean to be fascinated with. The Uzumaki pointed out the window. Her own chakra enshrouds her like a morning mist. She must have quite the personality. I think you're mistaken. Haruka-chan isn't a sensor. That lost the redhead's smile before her front became stone-like with disbelief. Surely you're joking with me, right? That little girl was staring down my guard as if they were insane to stand by the vegetable stand with his stupidly giant hammer. Koharu didn't even know that this Uzumaki diplomat had a bodyguard. Seals, yes, but the clan seemed infallible with their eccentric behavior and proven superiority with their few ninjutsu skills. To weaponize such a delicate art only scratched the surface of their other skills. Seeing a flicker of red at the corner of her eye emphasized the point. Haruka-chan never indicated herself to be a censor. In fact, she's my most troublesome genin. Most troublesome? Amiko's eyes looked at her with a curious glint. Strange. Strange? How so? Koharu watched the woman warily as the diplomat brought back her coy look. The thing about censors is that they're probably the most behaved children you'll ever meet. Amiko took her hand and brushed it through her long, red locks. Always do whatever they're told and seem like the perfect angels, seeing that they know exactly what to do and say to keep themselves out of trouble. The secretive glint of mischief and the seductive smile made Koharu's hairs stand up. Little angels that can easily hide the little devils they are with smooth words and well-placed tears and smiles. And what exactly does any of that has to do with censors in general? Or my student? Koharu nearly sneered at the other woman. Amiko had no such restraint and blatantly rolled her eyes and crossed her legs. Natural censors sense more than just chakra, they pick up on emotions and intent quite easily. As children, they learn quickly to use their age as an advantage before growing up to be wordsmiths or of the like. She easily tapped her fingers uselessly on her cheek. It's not my place to say, but the only time a censor would act out if there was a problem that they can't use words to push it around. You're right, it's not your place to say anything about the issue. Because Koharu wasn't the problem and why her students were undisciplined brats. It still made her wonder why Haruka doesn't turn to her for help or why the boys had a sudden change of heart towards the girl, but the fact that they were disobedient and practically insubordinate was frustrating. Well, they weren't being going against orders. Followed her commands perfectly now after they come to a conclusion with each other, but the prickling feeling of resentment from all of them made her want to put them in their places, especially after Haruka talked her down. It made her wonder why the two older boys were willing to follow the girl's lead after that particular conversation. But regardless, she was ready to be done with this assignment, and was ready to watch the three crash or fail at the upcoming exams. It didn't matter if they passed or not, because she'll be ready to put a recommendation for them to get out or hold a permanent place in the Genin Corps. Her old sensei will have to be disappointed in not having that assault team. Hiruzen and his team has that covered anyways. Uzumaki-san is like a cold glass of water against a summer ocean breeze. I hummed a slow gait. Like a golden field dancing in the autumn breeze. That makes no sense at all. Music is hard to describe, but sound itself always comes from a source, and it's easy to imagine the stuff that makes the sounds. That song is like the morning dew upon the grass. No, it's like the endless sky over a desert. The song of ticking clocks and the smell of coffee came back. The slow fall of the sand in an hourglass and the sound of a silent living room with a quiet morning sunbeam filtering through the curtains. The photo moment joys that were captured as pages of that old album easily flipped was the song that would escape me. The old vinyl that was scratched but preserved despite the many notes it skipped. The voices were muffled like a dull roar from a crowd, and the static that accompanied it framed the scene quite nicely. You know, when this is all over and we're both alive, let's go fishing. Change it up from our usual hunting. Haruka-chan? Are you alright? You still want to see the ocean, right? It's beautiful out here. I don't think an Ai-san would enjoy getting wet though. Okay? I laughed softly at the boys and their discomfort. Despite how they look, snakes don't like being wet. They prefer to stay lazy in the sun, to be honest. It's their pride that keeps them active and from others finding out their layabout ways. Hiroshi scrunched up his nose. I don't believe you. Just like you didn't believe me about Uzumaki-san's male shadows. Don't worry, I don't think they care for little Genin from an allied village. They're more content to stare at us from that tree over there. You know, it's not very nice to give away other people's positions like that. Tsukumo and Hiroshi jumped before becoming alert. I laughed at their battle stances before shrugging. You're not very good at hiding, Shadow-san. You're like a spinning top, always moving but controlled. The tall red-headed male flashed me a dazzling smile that made me blink. He was handsome. That charming outgoing personality showed in his easy posture, and if we weren't at the docks behind the agreed meeting place, many females would have swooned because that smile was just that dangerous. Teeth were clean and white, his shirt hid nothing of how defined his shinobi career made him, and his face was that of a real man. In fact, I can hear someone fainting inside the building. May I know Oju-san's name? The little lady that can spot me in a tree? He let loose his gentleman charm and it nearly threw me for a loop. Such talent must have a name to match. I'm not ashamed to admit that I giggled, half charmed and half amused. No, you're quite rude. You excuse me? You should apologize to my teammates. It's rather rude not announcing yourself to others. It's much more polite to introduce yourself first as well. I turned back to the calm ocean, actively ignoring the pouting man and the bewildered boys. The way the red-headed man constantly flickered his chakra curiously didn't bother me. He was like a kitten pawing a toy. The boiling excitement that hid under the man's tight control kept my attention along with the other two inside the building, the playful demeanor of happy puppies but the hidden amusement of cats. It was easy to forget that cats and puppies are rather demanding when it comes to attention. They're the reason why we can't keep pets. They're practically guard dogs that we have to water and feed. Not to mention they'll probably get jealous and kill the poor animals. Oju-chan, you can't just ignore me after calling me rude. I wouldn't try to bother her anymore. Once she starts daydreaming, it's hard for any of us to get her attention unless we attack her. Hiroshi huffed. Please don't attack her, Tsukumo added. I laughed silently at their conversation. The curious banter was familiar. The soft ring of a bell that nostalgia came with made me smile. Touch her and you die. Dude, we're training. The acceptance from Tsukumo and Hiroshi was nice. They were shaping up nicely, far more better than what we were before, and it was so much more entertaining to see them focus all that frustration towards our jounin instructor. We weren't disobedient, but defiant was definitely something we were not afraid to show. I was a little confused on why the change of heart though. It wasn't a gradual thing like I expected, but them unconsciously following and watching me. Listening closely as well despite the many comments and complaints they make about my ramblings. And it was flattering to know that they actually take my words seriously even if they don't show it. It was cute that Tsukumo has to translate for Hiroshi most of the time. Oju-chan. Don't ignore me. Don't bother, she's in one of her moods. And I find it endearing that Hiroshi is more than willing to watch and let the world crash around him if it meant dealing with a lesser headache from me. The way he's willing to shout out his warnings from the sidelines before that storm comes and made me smile for his acceptance of me. Don't worry, she's in one of her better moods, she's humming after all. It was a tiring year. A year hadn't even gone by, but the months that came with spending with her genin team was coming to an end, and Koharu was desperately watching the seconds go by as the chunin exams painfully come in its slow pace. The months, years on the battlefield was far more faster than trying to make something out of this mess of a team, and she still hadn't figured out why it was a working one. Tsukumo was obviously the leader. The pack mentality his clan boasters demands respect and others unconsciously gives it under the Hataki charisma and leadership. He was also strong and can easily round up the group with his easygoing charm that can easily turn to a serious calm when needed. The boy was definitely the leader. She thinks anyways. Koharu wasn't able to grasp the flow of the team at all. It made more sense when they were brooding and against each other, but now it seemed that they all shared each other's roles. Or something. She doesn't really know, not that she'll admit it. Hiroshi was supposed to be the fast hitter with Tsukumo, while Haruka was the support, the basic setup that made Konoha's teams efficient against whatever came across their way. The budding standard for genin to follow before they can branch out into their specializations or fall short into the genin or chunin core. It was the standard that they were supposed to follow but didn't, seemingly taking the process backwards in fact. And it was Haruka's fault too. The little girl that was supposed to look towards her for guidance in this mess of a team she was unfortunately thrown into. Just like her when she realized just how dangerous the world of ninja could be when her eyes were opened for the first time, and she watched and learned. Instead, the flow of Koharu's team was taken from her by said little girl. Wrenched away by stubbornness of all three genin, and the cogs were manipulated to suit the bright, blue eyes that watched her instructor with veiled contempt and with words that lead the boys by the nose. Words that lead her as well because it drilled her curiosity like the boys, words that she could grasp but not in time to realize that it was too late, and it was Haruka that was silently commanding the team. I hope you're more willing to share your thoughts. Hiruzen looked at Koharu amused. I may be smart, but I can't read minds. Koharu pursed her lips. How did you deal with Haruka-chan? Deal with? Hiruzen raised his eyebrows. It's been months now. I thought you had a better grasp than I did because I was expecting this far sooner. He took a sip of his tea. I told you Haruka-chan would be difficult to deal with. She's not difficult, she's constantly challenging my authority. The female jounin gripped her cup. But she does it in a way where it's extremely hard to dispute against her. Her old teammate chuckled, making her glare at him. I told you she has trust issues. Having issues with authority isn't too far of a stretch, seeing I had that kind of difficulty myself when I first met her. He took another sip. I didn't realize it myself for a short while, but her aberrations are her way of testing others. Orochimaru-kun and the others told me tales of how Haruka-chan was quick to send them on a goose chase before she accepted their friendship. She needs to learn that she can't have her way all the time if she wants to be a successful kunoichi. Hiruzen stared at Koharu for a moment before shaking his head. When I first got my team, my expectations for their skills were met, but everything that came with them made me wonder if I was their jounin instructor or their parent. It was quite troublesome to say the least. Koharu narrowed her eyes. We're not here to coddle the brats. It's hardly coddling when they need a soft hand to even their tempers every once in a while. The man didn't look impressed with her. A little time to understand your genin helps as well. You can't expect them to work as shinobi all the time without the burdens of their personal lives. You can't tell me Sensei didn't help you when you were at your lowest. Sensei certainly didn't sit down and have small talk for the sake of small talk. But we had plenty of heart-to-hearts when we needed it, even if we didn't want it. We were at war. But we're not right now. And we're going to war, Hiruzen. Koharu slammed her hands on the table. IWA and Kumo aren't going to wait around for our genin to pull themselves together. And it's better to have them do it in the middle of a battle? Did you forget the consequences of your own encounters? That got her to flinch, the long-ago memories of her shaking kunai in hand and the fresh blood that spilt. The faraway fear that she'd conquered but still wakes her up at night in cold sweat. It was the experience that she wanted to skip over with Haruka. I was young, arrogant, and disillusioned by my successes. The boys already had their eyes open to the world. Haruka, though, she's still ignorant of such things no matter how composed she acts. Koharu was a mountain when she was younger. A mountain that realized that it was actually a hill before it got flattened down into the earth, and she sees the same thing happening to the little kunoichi that was just as immovable as she was. Heights that Koharu thought she could reach were mere dreams that never came to reality. The hard truth that she wasn't the best made her give up and settled for what she had. Realizing that had done her more good than not, even if she was bitter about it.